Chapter 835. All this while, Lin Rei had never heard the system say these words. Now that he heard it, a terrifying thought appeared in Lin Rei's mind. Seems like you've already guessed it. Looking at Lin Rei's shock, the system chuckled and admitted, that's right, I didn't tell you before. Due to certain reasons, the system. That is, I have some memory loss. However, as the system slowly evolves, my memory will also be unlocked bit by bit, so, you don't know what's after that, or perhaps, the system. Maybe it's not only level 5. Maybe there are more levels after that, but your memory is incomplete, so you don't know, right? Is that so? Linley followed up on the system's words. Yes. That's right. The system nodded. I only found out about this recently, but as for whether there are levels after that, I don't know because my memory hasn't returned yet. Maybe when the system evolves to level 5, some of my memory will return and we'll know then. Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei's heart was filled with shock. This was perhaps the most shocking thing that Lin Rei had heard in this period of time. However, it was undeniable that after hearing this, Lin Rei was not only shocked, but also excited because if it was as he thought before, it meant that level 5 wasn't all there was to the system. That's great. Thinking about it, he couldn't help but shout. His face was filled with excitement and even a little impatience. After all, the system was already so powerful when it was upgraded to level 4. If it was upgraded to level 5, or even level 6 or 7 after level 5, then he really didn't dare to imagine how powerful the system would be. That's enough, you haven't even reached level 5 and you're already imagining things? Suddenly, the system reminded Lin Rei. Hearing this, the system blushed and scratched its head embarrassedly. You brat. Looking at Lin Rei's appearance, the system chuckled before continuing, all right, hurry up and put these things away. With these things, the sect should be able to rise to a higher level. Perhaps the entire sect will follow you soon after you reach the saints' world. Yes, I think so too. After all, I was the one who founded the Xuanzong sect. I don't want the system to remain nameless in the realm of the gods. As he spoke, Lin Rei's face was full of arrogance. Looking at the treasures before him, he sneered, as my sect, even if it doesn't become the leader of all sects, it should at least be above the 9 heavens. You have great ambitions. I admire you. Looking at Lin Rei's excited expression, the system chuckled and stopped talking. In response, Lin Rei smiled and said nothing. Instead, he continued to examine the heavenly treasures before him. As for those that he had examined previously, he had already kept them in his storage ring. However, there were still some that Lin Rei had yet to examine. He wanted to take a good look. He had only heard of spiritual energy, immortal elemental energy, god elemental energy, saint energy, and Hongmeng energy. This so-called power of the world, he had never heard of it. Sigh. It seems that after you break through to the saint realm, you will have to go to the scripture pavilion and stay there for 8 to 10,000 years. You don't even know about something as simple as the power of the world. Is this something that I should know? Lin Rei couldn't help but roll his eyes. Suddenly, the system didn't know where to begin. Although not everyone in the god realm knew about this, at the very least, people at his level of strength should know. But now, sigh. In the end, the system let out a sigh, then began to explain to Linley in a powerless voice, realm force is something that can be used to call upon spatial energy in order to train. They don't train in spiritual energy. From the very beginning, they train by sensing the realm force. So that's how it is. Hearing this, Linley nodded, not quite understanding. Yes. Even on planet Aqua Blue, which was extremely lacking in spiritual energy, as long as you have the cultivation method of the power of the world, even if there is no spiritual energy, you can still cultivate quickly. Take the power of the stars for example. The system gave an analogy. The power of the stars is the power that comes from above the stars. The stars, the power of the world, and the spiritual energy that you cultivate are all similar. It's just that they have the same root but different sources. Oh, in response to the system's explanation, Lin Rei gave a meaningful oh. Now he understands. After all, the power of the world is the power of the realm. That's enough. Although the heaven connecting technique is a powerful cultivation method, for you, it is like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you, the system emphasized. He didn't say anything and didn't respond. He put the heaven connecting technique back in its original position and picked up another one. 6 Dragons Union Technique, 9 Clouds Vast Waves Technique, Heaven Connecting Dragon Origin Technique, and so on. Lin Rei took the cultivation methods one by one. These cultivation methods were exactly the same as the heaven connecting technique from before. They were all very powerful, but the system only gave a single sentence in the end. Like a chicken rib. It's not suitable for you. In response, Lin Rei only said, got it, got it. After all, this was the system's opinion. Lin Rei still had to listen to it. Although the names of these cultivation methods sounded very flashy, Lin Rei also felt that the Chaos Heaven scripture was more suitable for him. In the end, after Lin Rei was dazzled by the books, he simply stopped looking. With a thought, he moved over 20 bookshelves into the system. Of course, these 20 bookshelves weren't all filled with cultivation methods. Some of the bookshelves only had a total of 12 books. Among them, there were cultivation methods, combat methods, footwork, spells, weapon refinement, talisman, pill refinement, and spell formations. However, most of the cultivation methods that could be placed here were of extremely high quality. After doing all this, Lin Rei's face revealed a satisfied smile. This trip could be said to be a fruitful one. Kid, hurry up and walk straight ahead. There's something there that might be very useful to you. Suddenly, an urgent voice sounded in his mind. Lin Rei was stunned. Ahead? The one who spoke was none other than the system. However, after hearing the system's words, Lin Rei frowned and was puzzled. Yes, ahead. Trust me, I definitely won't lie to you. Hurry up, oh. He nodded. Although he didn't know what it was, if the system was so anxious, its value shouldn't be lower than the ICL from before. With that thought, he took a step forward and walked forward according to the system's instructions. To the left, then, he came to the location that the system had pointed out. Hearing the system speak again, Lin Rei quickly turned around. He did as he was told. To the right. Hearing the system's words, Lin Rei started to have some doubts. Previously, when the system said that there was something, Lin Rei released his consciousness to check, but he didn't find anything. Hurry up. Behind the wall in front. I feel that the thing is behind the wall. Just as Lin Rei was feeling gloomy, the system suddenly spoke. Lin Li was startled by this. His spirits were lifted, and his previous gloominess was swept away. He took a single step forward, arriving in front of the wall. Staring at the wall, Lin Li spread out his divine sense, but what puzzled Lin Li was that within his divine sense, there was nothing strange about the wall. Give me your body. This thing is sealed. Although you have the seal now, you have only just mastered it. You don't have the ability to break it. At this moment, the system said. Although he had many doubts, at the same time, they seemed to coexist. He nodded his head and said, all right, then go. After all, they had worked together a few times before. Without any precaution, Lin Rei handed his body over to the system. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying surge of energy shot out from within Lin Li's body. This surge of energy had already surpassed the limits of what this realm could withstand. However, although Lin Rei withdrew from the control of his body, he could still feel it. Hiss. Lin Rei, who was in his soul state, was shocked. After all, compared to before, the power of the system seemed to have increased by quite a bit. Lin Rei, who was in his soul state, was shocked. Hee, come on. Let me see if this is what I have been waiting for. Looking at the confirmation in front of him, he clenched his hand into a fist and punched the wall. Rumble, as the fist landed, the palace shook. The entrance started to tremble after the previous tremor. Faintly, a piece of rock fell, as if it was about to collapse. Regarding this, the system did not have any estimation. Cracks appeared on the surface of the palace, but it did not break. For a moment, the system was stunned. Then, its expression froze. This time, it increased its strength. If the system was not afraid of returning this place with a full force punch, it would have used its strength. It increased its strength and punched the cracks in front of it. Fast, accurate, ruthless, clean and crisp. There was no hesitation. Boom, bang, suddenly, a fist landed. With a bang, gravel flew in all directions. A square hole appeared. The square hole was not very deep. It was only the width of an arm. In this square hole, there was a box that could be held with one hand. Please let it be what I want. Seeing that it was a box, the system hesitated for a moment. After praying in its heart, it reached out and grabbed the box. Just as it was about to grab the box, the system gave up the control of the body and returned it to Lin Rei. Phew, returning to the physical body, his body was full of fatigue and pain. Regarding this, Lin Rei was very clear. This was because his strength was too weak and could not bear the powerful cultivation of the system. Thus, it caused the sequelae. Kid, open the box. At this moment, the system spoke. Oh. Responding, he endured the fatigue and pain in his body. His gaze fell on the box. There was no prohibition, no seal, and not even a chain. Regarding this, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he reached out and opened the box. Boom, suddenly, the moment the box was opened, a wave of soul force rushed to his face. Suddenly. Linley had been somewhat tired and in pain, but as soon as he sensed this dense spiritual energy, all of the side effects he had felt were alleviated somewhat. But when Linley looked inside the box, he didn't see any of the glittering treasures that Linley had imagined. All he saw was a shriveled, flower-like object. What is this? Soul loss. Hearing Lin Rei's question, the system said. Soul loss? What is it for? It seems like there is a strong soul force in it. Lin Rei did not understand the soul loss. He had never heard of it. It was not that he was ignorant. Even if he was a supreme alchemist, he did not know the use of this soul loss. Little dragon, now what the little dragon lacks the most is the soul loss. Use this soul loss to awaken the little dragon. I can't always follow you here. I still have to organize my memories. Maybe I can remember something. Chapter 836. This can wake up the little dragon? Surprised. Lin Rei's face was filled with excitement after hearing the system's words. Lin Rei had always felt that he owed the little dragon a lot. Every time, it was because the little dragon had saved him. Lin Rei had always been inquiring about the elixirs that could restore soul shock. But, for such a long time, he had been cultivating in the ancient corpse burial ground and various other places. Although he asked 36 and the others to help him search, but, yes, the soul morning can indeed revive the little dragon. However, this is only to revive it. If you want to restore it, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. The system's words were filled with helplessness. Although the soul mourning can solve the little dragon's problem, it will only be temporary. It can only help the little dragon to recover, but its body will be very weak. Within 100 years, if you can't find a treasure to restore soul shock, then, the consequences will be very serious. This is another drawback of the soul mourning. Since it gives you hope, if you don't grasp it, then the final outcome will only be what you don't want to see the most. After listening to the system's explanation, Lin Li, who had decided to use the soul mourning, suddenly hesitated. He was afraid. He was afraid that if he couldn't find a treasure to restore soul shock within 100 years, then the little dragon would be in danger. Lin Rei had always been known for his decisiveness in other matters. Even when he killed someone, he wouldn't even blink. But, when it came to the little dragon, Lin Rei didn't dare. He was afraid. He was afraid that he would lose the little dragon, who was both a teacher and a friend. Although he was cheated along the way, it was mostly because the little dragon fell into a coma again and again because of him. How about it? You can decide for yourself. Anyway, I've already told you about it. You can think about it yourself. If you've made up your mind, just call me. However, you have to be quick, or I'm afraid that I'll enter a state of recovery. If that's the case, then the little dragon can only rely on Gu Jun's corpse to recover. After saying that, it shut up and Lin Rei took the initiative to cut off the connection with the system. In response, Lin Rei was stunned. With a thought, he put the soul of demise in his hand into his storage ring. The question of whether or not to use soul's demise to restore the little dragon became a dilemma for Lin Rei. Sigh. He sighed, and his face was filled with hesitation, disappointment, helplessness, and powerlessness. Plop, in the next moment, Lin Rei's body went limp and fell backward, sitting on the ground. If it weren't for his two hands supporting him subconsciously, his head would have hit the ground. Should I use soul demise on the little dragon? He wanted to use it, but he was afraid that if he didn't inject soul power into the little dragon in time, it would cause him more serious and irreparable damage. For a moment, the entire space fell into silence. No one spoke, and even the sound of breathing was so soft that if one didn't listen carefully, they wouldn't be able to hear it at all. Just like that, time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, half a day had passed. In this half a day, Lin Rei thought about a lot of things. However, just now, Lin Rei made up his mind. Use it. 100 years. It seems that time will be tight again. After saying that, Lin Rei's expression was firm. He then opened his mouth and said to the system, inject soul's demise into the little dragon to recover. As for finding a treasure that can replenish soul power within 100 years, I think I should have no problem. Well, I've been waiting for you to say that. Ha ha ha. The system laughed. Hearing this, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he couldn't help but laugh bitterly. However, after thinking about it, his personality was obvious. Okay, hurry up, he was anxious to see the little dragon, so he urged the system. He really wanted to see how the little dragon would react, and it woke up and saw such a change in him. Okay. Hearing Lin Rei's urgency, the system said, just wait. The little dragon has been asleep for a long time, so even if you use soul's demise, it will take some time, so, understood. Take your time. Just let the little dragon do it. I'm not in a hurry. Of course, even though he said he wasn't in a hurry, when he heard the system say that, Lin Rei's heart couldn't help but clench. Okay. I'm going to start. Don't come looking for me during this time. The system replied, oh right, the teleportation portal is already in your storage basket. Okay, go ahead. Lin Rei nodded and didn't say anything else. The disappointment from before had disappeared and was swept away. Hee hee, little dragon, you bastard. When you wake up, I'll make sure you die of disgust." As he said that, an evil smile appeared on his face. It's time to leave." Looking at the empty hall around him, he stood up and patted the dirt off his butt. Then, he slowly walked out of the hall. "All of you, gather here quickly. I'll give you 10 breaths. If you don't arrive within 10 breaths, you'll be punished by the Ministry of Justice." Suddenly, his consciousness rushed out and covered the entire area where Qiankuan Sect was. He then transmitted a message to Bai Qi and the rest who were searching for treasures in Qiankuan Sect. Young Master. Within Qiankuan Sect, the few people who were searching for treasures suddenly stopped in their tracks. Their faces changed and were filled with shock. However, they quickly regained their senses and found the right direction. With a leap, they rushed towards the sect at full speed. Swoosh, his speed was so fast that it was as if he was a swan crossing a stream. With a thunderous roar, he disappeared into the horizon. Ah, that's pretty fast. Within the range of Lin Rei's consciousness, even though Bai Qi and the rest were moving at an incredible speed, Lin Rei could still see them clearly. With a single glance, he could clearly see their figures. Looking at Bai Qi and the rest who were rushing towards him, Lin Rei smiled. He then took a step forward and arrived at the entrance of the palace in an instant. "I've been out for a while now. If Xiaofan knows what I'm doing, I'm afraid." Lin Rei arrived at the entrance of the palace and could already see the situation outside. He couldn't help but think of Xiaofan. However, this thought gave Lin Rei a headache. He could already imagine how terrible Xie Feng's face would be when she found out. See. His body trembled and he shook his head vigorously. "No, I can't let Xie Feng know about this. Otherwise, I'll have a hard time in the future." Luckily, Xie Feng brought Ling out of the sect. Otherwise, whoosh, whoosh, just as Lin Rei was deep in thought, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard. In an instant, 6 figures landed in front of Lin Rei. "Greetings, young master." Their voices weren't loud, but their auras were extremely powerful. Furthermore, their faces were filled with respect. Not bad." When he came back to his senses and saw Bai Qi and the others arrive, Lin Rei couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. He said, "Not bad. I gave you 10 breaths of time, but you didn't even use it. You only took 6 breaths of time to arrive. Not bad, you deserve praise." Whoosh, after saying that, several streams of light instantly rushed out, rushing towards the 6 people respectively. "Thank you, young master." They didn't refuse and stretched out their hands to receive them. Then, they lowered their heads to look at them. Storage rings? At that moment, the 6 people were holding none other than the countless storage rings that they had. Looking at the storage rings in their hands, they were stunned. They looked up at Lin Rei in confusion, as if to ask, "Young master, what do you mean by this?" "Take them." Understanding the intentions of Bai Qi and the others, Lin Li explained, "These are the treasures that I picked out for you guys from the Qiankuan sect. Take them. Who knows, maybe in the future, you guys might take on a disciple or something. Don't be afraid that you don't have anything to show off. If that happens, people might think that I have mistreated you guys." Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Their expressions were strange, but, at the same time, they were filled with joy. After all, they were Lin Rei's subordinates. If they didn't get Lin Rei's permission to take in a disciple, they would definitely not allow it. Of course, this was also the power of the system. After all, even though they weren't taught by Lin Rei, they were still given by the system. "Alright, it's just a few things. With your strength, it's time to find a disciple. This will also help the Xuanzong sect attract new blood, right?" "Yes, we understand." Everyone nodded. "Oh, right. Seeing that everyone had agreed, Lin Rei smiled. However, he suddenly thought of something and said, "That's right, you can take in a disciple, but there must be a condition." "Young master, please speak." "We will definitely comply." Nodding his head, he said, "You can take in a disciple, but you must look at their character. Even if your disciple is not strong, he must have a good character. Otherwise," at this point, Lin Rei's eyes dimmed. This was because when he said this, Lin Rei couldn't help but think of the time when he was surrounded in the celestial realm. "Yes, we understand." Bai Qi and the others naturally knew about Lin Rei's strange expression. Among them, Hong Lian saw Lin Rei's dimmed expression and immediately understood the reason. Sigh. It seems that young master has not recovered from his injuries. "Madam, you are so lucky to have young master's love." Hong Lian couldn't help but feel envious. "Young master, now we are going to." Just as Hong Lian was in a daze, Kuei Gang broke the silence. "Return to the sect." Looking at Kegang, Linli laughed, then continued, "The cosmic sect has been destroyed, and I've taken all of the natural treasures of the cosmic sect. There's nothing left here that I can't leave behind. Thus, it's time to go back." "Yes, we accept your orders." Everyone saluted, then came to stand behind Linli. They stood there respectfully, not saying anything else. Ignoring Bai Qi and the others, Zhao Fu took out the teleportation channel that he had bought for 3 million gold coins. A trace of spirit qi flowed into the teleportation channel and Zhao Fu threw it forward. Following this, the teleportation channel, which was originally the size of a palm, started to expand as soon as Lin Rei threw it out. 3 meters. 6 meters, only when the teleportation channel reached 15 meters did it stop, and a blue light shot into the sky. At this moment, Bai Qi and the others came back to their senses and couldn't help but laugh when they saw this teleportation channel. "I used this channel to come here. Otherwise, how could I have reached here in such a short time?" After saying that, she smiled and took a step forward. In an instant, she arrived at the center of the teleportation array. She turned around and waved her hand at Bai Qi and the others, who were still standing there. "Come here." Whoosh! Without any hesitation, everyone's figures flashed, and they instantly arrived behind Linli's body. "Ah, let's go." Seeing that everything was ready, Lin Rei clasped his hands together and formed a series of strange seals. His speed became faster and faster, to the point where no one could see him clearly. Finally, Lin Rei's hands stopped. Rumble! Suddenly, in the instant that Linli's hand seals came to a halt, the ground began to tremble. At this moment, the blue light suddenly began to shine brightly, and a mysterious, devouring aura emanated from it. "Let's go!" Lin Rei shouted and waved his left hand. The teleportation channel was activated, and the blue light shone brightly. In the next moment, Lin Rei and the others disappeared from the mystic arch. At the same time, in the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect on Sky Dragon Mountain, a group of beautiful young men and women were cultivating. Suddenly, the spirit energy in the air became chaotic. What's going on?" A young man, who had his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. His face was full of doubt. This was the mystic realm of the Xuanzong sect. If the spirit energy here was chaotic, it would not be seen in the Xuanzong sect. Under the gaze of the young man, a blue light appeared not far from the lake. At first, it was just a needle's eye, but as time passed, the blue light grew bigger and bigger. It only stopped growing when it was about 15 meters wide. The moment the blue light appeared, a few black figures appeared in the blue light. The sharp-eyed young man was stunned. Suddenly, a look of joy appeared on his face. "Xianyuan, why, are you so happy to see your master?" At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were standing in the blue light. The young man standing outside the blue light was not a person. He was Lin Rei's third disciple, Lin Xianyuan. Master, I. Hearing this familiar voice, Lin Xianyuan wanted to say something, but he realized that he could not say anything. He could only stop. Looking at his third brother's expression, Lin Rei liked him more and more. The blue light dissipated, and everyone's figures landed on Lin Xuanyuan's body. Then, they stepped out of the teleportation channel and arrived in front of Lin Xianyuan. Go and do what you need to do. After walking out of the teleportation channel, Lin Xianyuan ignored Lin Xianyuan and said to Bai Qi and the others. Chapter 837. Whoosh whoosh, Bai Qi and the others, who were originally in front of Lin Rei, heard Lin Rei's order and rushed out, disappearing in front of everyone's eyes. As for Linli, he continued to watch Bai Qi and the others disappear into the horizon. Only after they had completely disappeared from Linli's field of vision did Linli retract his gaze and turn. Plop, as he turned around, he saw Lin Xianyuan kneeling on the ground. His face was full of excitement, as if something had happened. You. What's wrong? Lin Rei didn't understand. Normally, he didn't see Xianyuan with such an expression. Although he didn't spend much time with them, he knew them very well. He knew Xuanyuan's personality better, so when he saw the excited smile on Xuanyuan's face, Lin Rei was stunned. Master, I don't want to stay in the sect. I want to leave with you. Oh. Hearing these words, Linli was startled for a moment. Then, with an amused smile on his face, he asked, Why do you suddenly want to leave with me? Isn't it better to stay here? Xianyuan stuttered. Looking at his master in front of him, he was stunned. He then said, Yes, it's good to stay here, but I don't want to stay in the sect all the time. Although I can improve my cultivation here, I feel that I'm not the same as before. I feel that my Taoist foundation is a lot weaker. Moreover, I feel that my speed of improvement has slowed down recently. It was as if he had spilled out his thoughts, and his whole body relaxed in an instant. However, at this moment, after hearing Xuanyuan's words, Lin Rei came back to his senses and smiled. His smile was full of gratification and appreciation. He had been worried about this problem for a long time, so he had planned to take them with him this time. He didn't expect Xianyuan to bring it up himself. Of course, although he had planned before, now that Xianyuan had said it himself, it was different. This meant that Xianyuan knew his shortcomings and the drawbacks of his cultivation. Do you agree? Xianyuan asked timidly, looking up at his master. Lin Rei didn't respond to Xuanyuan's words. He just looked at him with a smile. Xianyuan was startled, and a flash of disappointment appeared in his eyes. Sigh. It seems like, I agree. At this moment, Lin Rei spoke. Although his voice wasn't loud, Xianyuan heard it in her heart. He was stunned. He had thought that there was no hope, but he didn't expect the situation to suddenly change. Now, he had agreed. Xianyuan screamed. His face was full of joy and excitement. His wish had been fulfilled. That's good. Lin Rei smiled when he saw Xianyuan acting like a child. He stroked Xuanyuan's hair and said, Why aren't you getting up yet? Hearing this, Xianyuan was stunned. Then, he smiled and stood up. At this moment, Lin Rei's voice sounded again. Oh, you. I'm very gratified that you're able to realize this. Originally, I wanted to see your strength, but when I came back, I found that even though your cultivation bases have increased, your foundation is weak and weak. You're a very ordinary cultivator, so I changed my mind and decided to take you with me when I left. I didn't expect, Hearing this, Xianyuan smiled bitterly. Master, you've already decided to take us with you, Xianyuan said. Yes. Lin Rei looked at Xianyuan and replied, I did want to take you with me, but it's not the same as you bringing it up yourself. Looking at your ability to comprehend, perhaps in the future, your achievements will be greater than those of your two senior brothers and sisters. As he spoke, he couldn't help but look at Lin Wanyu and the others, who were still cultivating with their eyes closed. Looking at them, Lin Rei was worried. Sigh. I hope you can work harder, or else. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up with me. Lin Rei shook his head and put this matter to the back of his mind. He retracted his gaze and looked at Xianyuan with a strange expression. Let's go. Accompany me for a walk. When I'm done, I'll bring something back from the Qinkuan sect and give it to you. Yes, master. Of course, Xianyuan was happy. However, compared to this, Xianyuan wanted to go out and gain experience, especially with Lin Rei. After all, he had Lin Rei's guidance. He believed that his strength would return to its peak, or even be stronger than before. Let's go. Xianyuan turned his head and walked slowly towards the depths of the secret territory without looking at Lin Wanyu and the others. To be honest, although the palace of the Xuanzong sect was built by him, and the secret territory was built by him, he wasn't very familiar with the secret territory. When he first built it, he only built rooms on the periphery. As for the depths, he didn't really go around. Just like that, the two of them walked in silence towards the depths of the secret territory. On the way, neither of them spoke, as if they couldn't find anything to talk about. As for Xianyuan, he followed behind Linli. He was silent, but his face was no longer gloomy. Instead, it was full of smiles and sunshine. Coupled with his youthful appearance, Xianyuan looked like a sunny boy. He was very handsome. Xianyuan, do you know why I gave you this name? Suddenly, Lin Rei broke the silence. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Xianyuan recovered from his joy and looked at Lin Rei blankly. In my world, there used to be an emperor. His name was Xianyuan, and he was a great hero. He was blessed with the aura of an emperor, and he was very powerful. If we were to classify him according to the levels of cultivation, I'm afraid, he was already in the realm of saints in my world. Hiss. Hearing this, Xianyuan, who was standing behind Linli, felt a wave of shock in his heart. Especially when he heard the word saint, emperor's blessing. He. Seeing the strange look on Xuanyuan's face, Lin Rei smiled and continued, of course, this is only a legend in my world. I don't know the specifics. I've said so much because I want to say that in the future, you must work harder in your cultivation. Although you won't be able to benefit the world, at least you can't be a bloodthirsty demon. Do you understand? Yes, master, your disciple understands. Xianyuan nodded, his face full of seriousness and determination. Your disciple will work harder in the future, and become a saint. Not bad, not bad. Looking at Xianyuan, Lin Rei's smile grew wider. Alright, I'll give you something. Although its level is a bit low, when I reach the saint level, I'll give you something better. What do you think? As he spoke, a golden light shone from Lin Rei's hand. Suddenly, Xianyuan opened his eyes, and the golden light pierced his eyes. He immediately closed his eyes. Looking at Xuanyuan's current state, Lin Rei smiled and said, when this sword was forged, the 9-clawed golden dragon was attached to it, and the aura of an emperor filled the air. When I saw this, I merged it with the dragon's vein, and then this sword was forged. As he spoke, he grabbed the hilt of the sword and the scabbard with his other hand. Clang! A deafening sound of the sword rang out. This sword. Destiny Xianyuan. I named it after you. Its level is not high, only at the pre-saint level. Don't worry, after I refine it for you, it will definitely reach the saint level. Xianyuan. Xianyuan sword? At this moment, Xianyuan opened his eyes and stared blankly at the sword in front of him. His expression was full of excitement and passion. Yes, Xianyuan's sword. Seeing Xuanyuan's expression, Lin Rei knew that Xianyuan liked the sword very much. He then pushed the sword forward again and said, "Take this." At this moment, the sword and scabbard were separated, and the two appearances of the sword were completely exposed in front of Xianyuan. The sword was 3 feet long and shone with a golden light. In the golden light, there seemed to be a golden dragon swimming in it. Xianyuan could feel the infinite sword qi coming from the sword. The scabbard was very beautiful. There were a few 9-clawed golden dragons carved on it, and at the top of the scabbard, the word Xianyuan was very eye-catching. "Xianyuan, are you my sword?" Xianyuan said to himself as he reached out his hand to grab the sword. The moment Xuanyuan's hand was about to touch the sword, a terrifying sword qi rushed out and bounced Xuanyuan's hand away. Hiss! This scene made Xianyuan gasp. His face was full of shock. "How, right now, you are not its master?" Also. Seeing the confusion on his third disciple's face, Linley explained, "A quasi-saint artifact is not that easy to obtain. Thus, if you want it to acknowledge you, you have to use all of your strength and integrity to suppress it and subdue it for your own use." Hearing this, Xianyuan was stunned. However, he quickly came back to his senses. His previous doubts were swept away, and in the blink of an eye, there was only endless fighting spirit left in his eyes. He wanted to subdue the Xianyuan sword. "Oh, go ahead." Seeing his third disciple's fighting spirit, Lin Rei smiled and stabbed the Xianyuan sword into the ground. The moment the sword touched the ground, it was like cutting through tofu. Lin Rei stabbed it into the ground without any pressure. After doing all this, Lin Rei stepped aside and smiled, "Little guy, now it's up to you. Whether you can subdue it or not depends on your ability. Of course, if you don't have the ability to subdue it, I will seal it." Then, without waiting for the third disciple to reply, he took a step forward and instantly appeared 1,000 meters away. He found a good place to watch the show. With a thought, he took out a rocking chair and a few fruits. Then, he lay down on the rocking chair and ate the fruits comfortably while watching the show. He was having a good time. No way. Xianyuan saw Lin Rei's actions at the moment. Seeing his master like this, Xianyuan was stunned and the corner of his mouth twitched. He didn't look at Xianyuan's sword for a long time. Then, he looked away and fixed his eyes on the Xianyuan sword. "Humph, you're destined to be mine." Xianyuan looked at the Xianyuan sword in the ground. His face was filled with hatred. He took a step forward and appeared in front of the Xianyuan sword. He immediately revolved his cultivation and condensed spiritual qi in his hand. Then, he grabbed the hilt of the sword. In order to prevent the Xianyuan sword from attacking, Xianyuan's sword released the pressure of a great emperor and suppressed it. "You want to play with me? You're still too young." Xianyuan's sword's heart relaxed a little. Then, he moved his hand again. The sound of a sword humming filled the air. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others, who were far away in the outskirts of the pocket dimension, heard the humming of a sword. Instantly, they opened their eyes, and a bright light flashed in their pupils. Their faces were filled with puzzlement. What's going on? How can there be such a strong sword qi in the mysterious territory? Who could it be? Lin Wanyu looked around. Huh? Where's Xianyuan? At that moment, Lin Wanyu realized that Lin Xianyuan, her third fellow disciple, had disappeared. Her other fellow disciples were all there. At this moment, Cullen and the others woke up as well. They were all awakened by the sword hum. Eldest sister, such a strong sword qi appeared in the mysterious territory. Should we go and take a look? At that moment, Karen said. His face was filled with excitement. That's right, eldest sister. At that moment, Jiang Yuan added, after all, this is the mysterious territory. It's our master's home. There's nothing wrong with going and taking a look, right? Chapter 838. Hee, interesting. When did this brat learn such a skill? Using his own spiritual energy to condense an extremely cold force to suppress the sword qi of the Xianyuan sword. TSK. This brat's comprehension ability is simply, in the distance, Linli, who was lying on a rocking chair, had been paying attention to Xuanyuan's situation. His face was full of relief, especially when Xianyuan used the ice force. Linli's eyes lit up. It could be seen that the ice force was an extremely powerful method. Otherwise, it wouldn't have caught Xuanyuan's attention, let alone be able to suppress the Xianyuan sword qi. Lin Rei naturally knew how terrifying the Xianyuan sword was. However, Lin Rei was also very happy about the ice force. After all, such a powerful method wasn't easy to obtain. Perhaps, Suddenly, Xuanyuan's hand had already grasped the hilt of the Xianyuan sword. However, the moment he grasped the hilt, his face suddenly changed and turned pale. This sword qi is too. At this moment, Xianyuan was very depressed. He thought that by grasping the hilt and using some strength, he would be able to subdue the sword, but, the moment he grasped the hilt, Xuanyuan's imagination completely changed. A golden sword qi instantly rushed into his hand, then spread from his arm to his upper body. As time passed, the sword qi spread to his entire body. Feeling the sword qi rushing into his body and flowing through his meridians, Xuanyuan's face suddenly changed and was full of fear. Meridians were very important to everyone, whether they were ordinary people or cultivators. If there was a problem with his meridians, then, he couldn't help but spit out the blood in his throat. His face became even paler. Oh no, this guy entered my Dan palace. Feeling the direction of the sword qi, Xuanyuan's face changed and he smiled bitterly. Beasts of the four symbols, seal all directions. Dan palace as the main, spiritual qi as the auxiliary, meridians as the lock, seal. Suddenly, Xianyuan used his own meridians, Dan palace, and spiritual qi as the foundation to seal the sword qi that had entered his Dan palace. At this moment, Xianyuan had no other choice. He thought it would be very easy, but he didn't expect this to happen. It could be said that, it was a moment of carelessness. After all, he did not expect the golden sword qi to be so powerful. Moreover, he had also underestimated the Xianyuan sword. After all, it was refined by Lin Rei using the illusory spirit blood fire infused with the dragon vein, alas. In the distance, Lin Rei was very clear about Xuanyuan's situation. He also knew that Xianyuan had used a sealing technique and that the golden sword qi had entered his Dan palace. Regarding this, Lin Rei couldn't help but sigh. However, this was enough. After all, the Xianyuan sword was refined by him. He knew how powerful it was. A weapon of sage to be was no joke. Forget it. I thought I didn't have to do anything, but it seems. Lin Rei shook his head, stood up, and stepped forward. In an instant, he was behind Xianyuan. He activated his cultivation and poured spiritual power into his right hand. He instantly used the devouring heaven technique and stuck it to Xuanyuan's back. Don't be distracted. The technique I am using now is a little special. It is a devouring technique, so, it may be a little uncomfortable and painful. Remember, stay true to your heart and protect your spiritual altar. Don't be careless. Otherwise, even I can guarantee your safety. Xianyuan, who was originally in a daze and didn't know what to do, suddenly heard a familiar voice. Suddenly, his body trembled and he nodded inadvertently. After the transmission, Xianyuan followed Lin Rei's instructions. He stayed true to his heart, protected his spiritual altar, and looked inside himself. It begins. Sensing Xuanyuan's appearance, Lin Rei's face suddenly became serious and nervous. At this moment, Lin Rei had to be very careful with Xianyuan. After all, the golden sword Qi was in Xuanyuan's Dan palace. Whoosh, whoosh, suddenly, the atmosphere around them became heavy. In the secret territory, there was a gust of wind. In response, a terrifying devouring power appeared in Lin Rei's right hand and entered Xuanyuan's body. Whoosh, whoosh, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Several figures quickly rushed over from afar. In the blink of an eye, they had already arrived not far from where Lin Rei was. When they landed on the ground, their eyes fell on Lin Rei. When they saw the situation between Lin Rei and Xianyuan, and the long sword that they had stabbed in front of Xianyuan, they suddenly seemed to understand something. However, when they saw Xuanyuan's pale face, their faces changed and they were filled with worry. It seems that Master gave the sword to third junior brother to refine, but it seems that something went wrong. The person who spoke was none other than Lin Wanyu and the others who had sensed the shocking sword Qi and came to find them. Yes, and, the sword's aura is so strong. Even from afar, I can feel the sword Qi rushing out from the long sword. Such a weapon is really, a supreme treasure. Yes, that's right. The Emperor's aura is hidden in the long sword. It seems that Master thinks highly of third junior brother. One by one, they began to discuss their own opinions. Of course, although they said so, there was no trace of greed on their faces. Of course, there was envy. After all, who wouldn't want such a powerful weapon? Alright, let's stop talking. Since Master gave it to third junior brother, it means that his cultivation is stronger than the three of us. So, let's not be lazy in the future. Of course, the most important thing for us now is to protect Master and third junior brother. Although this is the secret territory of the Xuanzong sect, since Master has used the devouring sky technique, it means that third junior brother's situation is very serious. So, we can't let them have the slightest bit of trouble. As she spoke, she turned her head to look at Estranged and the others. Go, each of you guard a corner. Now, Master and junior brother are the most powerful. If anyone comes close, if they don't stop, kill. Yes, we understand. We will follow senior sister's orders. At this moment, seeing Lin Wanyu's serious expression, everyone knew that the situation was serious. Then, with a sound, they disappeared instantly. When they reappeared, they were already at the four corners with Lin Rei as the center according to Lin Wanyu's instructions. They sat down cross-legged and began to guard the two of them. Oh, this group of little guys. At this moment, Lin Rei, who was removing the golden sword Qi for Xianyuan, smiled. Lin Rei heard the actions of Lin Wanyu and the others and their words very clearly. He also knew what they were doing at this moment. Seeing them like this, Lin Rei relaxed. Then, he focused all his energy on removing the golden sword Qi. In an instant, his consciousness entered into Xuanyuan's body. Looking at the golden sword Qi that was sealed by the meridians in his Dantian palace, Lin Rei smiled. TSK. This formation is a little interesting. It can even seal with the meridians. Huh. Linli was startled by Xianyuan Ziliu's sealing formation, and a hint of interest appeared on his face. And then, he paid it no more attention, focusing all of his attention on the sword Qi. Looking at it, Lin Rei said, "Little thing, I want you to become Little Third's weapon, not to hurt him. I'll give you two choices." As if it understood Lin Rei's words, the golden sword suddenly trembled. First, become my disciple's weapon and help him condense the seed of the sword heart. Then, he can make you the pinnacle divine weapon in this world. Second, I'll erase your spiritual intelligence. Then, I'll let little third refine you. I believe this should be the most efficient method. I'll give you two choices. Remember, I'm giving you a chance. Don't take my efforts for granted. Do you understand? Suddenly, after hearing Lin Rei's words, the golden sword chi began to tremble violently. The golden light, which had dimmed because of the seal, suddenly shone brightly. It seemed to be resisting, but also seemed to be making a difficult choice. Lin Rei didn't act in time. After all, if the golden sword chi was allowed to condense the seed of the sword heart, then Xuanyuan's path of the sword would be smooth and smooth. So, time passed little by little. The golden light was still bright and dazzling. In this regard, Lin Rei waited patiently. Lin Rei didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, the golden light disappeared. A small sword, which was the same as Xuanyuan's sword, appeared in front of Lin Rei. Looking at the appearance of the small sword, Lin Rei smiled. Seeing the small sword like this, Lin Rei already knew his answer. How is it? Have you thought about that choice? Although he knew, he still wanted to hear it with his own ears. Suddenly, the small sword trembled. Circles of golden ripples came from the small sword. I choose the first choice. I'll condense the seed of the sword heart and become Xuanyuan's sword. Suddenly, a young voice rang out. After hearing it, the smile on Lin Li's face grew even wider. I knew long ago that you had formed a sword spirit. I thought that you would be able to hide for a long time. I didn't expect that you would finally show yourself. As the refiner of the Xianyuan sword, Lin Li naturally knew about the Xianyuan sword very well. Therefore, when he heard this tender voice, Lin Li was naturally not too surprised. You refined me, but, the sword spirit wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by Lin Rei halfway through the painting. Well, let's not talk about anything else. My time is limited. Hurry up and start condensing the seed of the sword heart. I wanted to help little Sanzi devour you. Since you agreed, then the devouring heaven's end is useless. After saying that, the devouring heaven's end disappeared instantly. You. Hearing this, the sword spirit was startled. He naturally knew about the devouring heaven's end. Of course, he also heard about it from other weapon spirits in the system. Little guy, hurry up and get started. I'll leave first. As he spoke, Lin Li turned around and was about to leave. However, as he turned around, he seemed to have thought of something. He paused and continued, remember that the sword spirit at the quasi-saint level is not allowed to condense any mediocre sword heart seeds. When the time comes, I will check. If it does not meet my requirements, then I will be very angry. After saying that, Lin Rei, who was in the Xianyuan Pill mansion, disappeared instantly and returned to his original body. Little Sanzi, I'll leave the rest to you. I've already told the sword spirit of the Xianyuan sword. He knows what to do. Lin Rei, who had returned to his original body, said to Xianyuan. Yes, master, I understand. Xianyuan nodded, his heart full of gratitude. Well, okay, I'll leave first. After saying that, he didn't want to disturb Xianyuan anymore. Boom! As Lin Li retreated explosively, a terrifying surge of sword energy suddenly shot out from him. At this moment, in the Xianyuan Pill mansion, the sword spirit that had been sealed by Xianyuan had been released by Xianyuan. A small sword stood in the Pill mansion. In an instant, the small sword began to spin quickly. It was so fast that it was impossible to see through it. I, the sword spirit of the Xianyuan sword, am willing to serve Xianyuan as my master. I condensed the seed of the sword heart here for you to use. You can break the world with your sword heart, a young voice sounded in Xuanyuan's mind. Suddenly, a terrifying sword chi began to fill Xuanyuan's body. Every inch of his skin, every cell, and every bone began to harden under the sword spirit's refinement. Even his meridians became the target of the sword spirit's refinement. Even his spiritual chi was no exception. Oh, it seems that little Sanzi will break through to the Divine Master level after this. Feeling the changes in Xianyuan, Lin Rei's heart was full of joy. After all, it was a good thing that one of his disciples had broken through to the Divine Master level. The student had surpassed the master. This was something that Linley naturally felt gratified about. Little girl. Hurry up and leave. This is no longer a place for you to stay. This place will be full of sword chi. You don't have a place to stay. Hurry up and leave. Looking at the 4 disciples guarding the 4 corners of the room, Linley smiled and said to them, "Let's go." Yes. Hearing Lin Rei's order, Lin Wanyu and the others opened their eyes and looked at Lin Xianyuan, who was full of sword chi. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, they couldn't help but be shocked. If they were to compete with Lin Xianyuan now, none of them would be a match for him. The sword chi condensed around him was too powerful. Let's go. Of course, after the shock, they were all happy. After all, such a powerful person was their senior brother and junior brother. They could only be proud of him. Whoosh, in a flash, they retreated to a place where the sword chi couldn't reach. Finally, they all came to Lin Rei's side and stood there without saying a word. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Little guys, when little Sanzi comes out, he will probably break through to the Divine Master level." You, what? That much? At this moment, the person who was talking to himself was none other than Lin Rei, who had been in seclusion with Xianyuan. In the past 3 years, Linley had been practicing as a sideline all the time. Fortunately, he had gained a lot of insights during these 3 years, and his talisman-making level had risen to the Sage-to-Be level. He believed that after a period of time, he should be able to rise to the Saint level. Thinking about it made him happy. His face was full of smiles when he woke up. "You little punk, you finally woke up." Suddenly, a voice filled with coldness rang out, causing Linley's body to tremble. Xie. Xiaofan. As Xiao Chen thought about this, his neck turned mechanically to the source of the sound. He saw that the evil phoenix was sitting cross-legged on a tree branch, looking at him with interest. Ha! Ha ha, that. You. When did you come back? Lin Rei asked. Humph. Seeing Lin Rei like this, Xiaofan snorted coldly. Then, in a flash, she appeared in front of Lin Rei. Looking at Lin Rei, who was lying on the rocking chair, Xiaofang's face was gloomy. She said, "Little guy, you have had a good time when I was not around. You even did something like exterminating your sect?" Hearing this, Linley smiled awkwardly and muttered in his heart, F***ck, who was it? Who told her? Don't F***king let me find out. Even if it's my own son, I won't F***king let him off. Of course, that was what he thought, but he smiled and quickly explained. I was worried that you would be tired. Besides, I didn't decide on that place. I asked Bai Qi and the others to deal with it. However, something happened later, so I went. Let's leave it at that for now. Now, the most important thing is to go to the 9th state. There is something waiting for me there, so. Saying that, he glanced at Xiaofan and said, "So, if you have anything else to do, hurry up and deal with it. For example, Ling, hurry up and deal with her. When little third is better, we will leave this place. I think. I won't come back here." Saying that, he was afraid that Xiaofan would bring up the previous matter. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared from Xiaofang's sight. Little bastard. Lin Rei disappeared too suddenly and Xiaofan was not prepared for it. Looking in the direction Linley had disappeared in, the evil phoenix stomped its feet angrily. A look of anger appeared on its face. It glanced in the direction Linley had left in, then sighed. Forget it, I should hurry up and tell Ling Er. After all, she is my only disciple. She won't be coming back in the future. Saying that, she glanced at Ling Er again. Then, she used her cultivation and disappeared from the spot. At this moment, when Xiaofan left, the secret territory's seal also disappeared. I did it, early ultimate god. Early ultimate god realm, master, I did it. At this moment, in the secret territory, there was a flash of golden light. A figure was standing in the air, his face was full of excitement and his body was trembling in the air. As for the young man, he gave off a feeling of nobility, as if he was untouchable. Unknowingly, his body was emitting a massive aura that made one want to submit to him. On the young man's body, there was a faint sense of sharpness, like an unsheathed sword that would definitely draw blood. Early ultimate god, I have reached the ultimate god realm. At this moment, the young man muttered to himself. There was nothing else other than these few words. Sigh, little guy, why is your mentality so weak? Isn't it just breaking through to the ultimate god realm? You will break through even more in the future, middle stage, late stage, complete realm, and even saint realm. You can't be so excited every time, right? At this moment, a man's lazy voice came from the side. However, when he heard this voice, the young man turned around with a smile on his face. At this moment, a young man was standing beside him, looking at him with a smile. Looking at the young man, Lin Rei asked, "How do you feel?" "Master." Looking at the person who had appeared, the young man knelt on the ground and shouted excitedly, "Thank you for helping me, master. Otherwise, with my talent, I would have needed a long time to break through. That's enough, there's no need to thank me. I am your master." Feeling the sharp sword qi on Xuanyuan's body, the young man's smile didn't fade. "Alright, since you are out, let's leave. We have wasted enough time here. There are still some urgent matters waiting for me in the 9th state. Let's go." Then, without waiting for Xuanyuan's reply, he turned around and left. Seeing that his master was in such a hurry, Yuanxian didn't stay any longer. He used his footwork and immediately chased after Lin Rei. At this moment, in the meeting hall of the Xuanzong sect, a group of people had gathered. They wanted to see Lin Rei off, so they all wanted to see him off. At this moment, in the hall, there was a beautiful young woman. Her skin was smooth and her face was beautiful. She looked like a goddess who had descended from the heavens. However, there was a look of reluctance on her beautiful face. "Father, grandfather, is grandfather leaving? He just came back. I didn't even have time to see him or talk to him. Is he leaving already?" Once those words were spoken, everyone present was stunned. As for the young man who was questioned, he wanted to speak, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than the current sect leader of the Xuanzong sect, Lin Yun, and his daughter, Lin Ling Er. The grandfather and father they were talking about was naturally Lin Rei. Looking at his daughter, Lin Yun's face was sad. Just like Lin Ling Er, he was full of reluctance. "Yes, your grandfather pursues the peak of the Tao. He has to improve his strength, so, sigh." With that, Lin Yun didn't continue. To be honest, he really wanted to leave everything here and follow Lin Rei. But he knew that Lin Rei wouldn't allow it. His father wouldn't allow it, so Lin Yun didn't ask for a rebuff. "Oh. You're all here?" However, the atmosphere suddenly grew quiet. Not long after, a voice was heard. In response to that, the crowd that heard those words all turned their heads to look. They saw two young men standing at the entrance of the hall, looking at everything with smiles on their faces. "Fa father. Grandfather. It was none other than Lin Rei, who had walked out of the mystery realm. As for the other person, it was naturally Xian Yuan. I'm back. Looking at Lin Ling, Lin Rei smiled. Then, he came to the front of the crowd. Looking at them, Lin Rei said, "You must already know that I'm leaving this time. Perhaps when we meet again, we'll be in the holy world." "What? Father, you're not coming back." Hearing Lin Rei's words, Lin Yun was shocked. He didn't think that his father would leave and not come back. Huh. Looking at the shock on his son's face, Lin Rei smiled and nodded. "That's right. You don't have to be like this. I believe that we'll meet again in the holy world soon." Lin Yun wanted to say something, but looking at the current situation, he was afraid. At this moment, Lin Yun fell silent. His expression was filled with reluctance. Lin Rei sighed. He had always felt guilty towards Lin Yun. Remember. Although you're the sect master of the Xuanzong sect, you must raise your cultivation as soon as possible. I've already intimidated all the sects in the divine world for you. I believe that they won't come out to make trouble for you in the short term. Also, I'll be leaving with some of my old subordinates. Of course, I'll leave you with some resources. I'll bring them into the holy world and let them help you establish a world that can protect you. When the time comes, it'll be much easier for you to enter the holy world. Chapter 840. Father, hearing these words, everyone fell silent. As for Lin Yun, because of these words, he shed tears. The Grand Master of a powerful sect was now shedding tears. He had not expected his own father to work so hard just to give him a stable world. "Tsk, you brat." Looking at his son's tears, Lin Rei's heart was moved. His heart was filled with warmth. At this moment, Lin Rei felt that everything he did was worth it. "Alright, you're already a few thousand years old, yet you're still crying. How can you lead the sect to prosperity like this? I'm still waiting to see you in the saints' world." As he said that, he raised his hand and patted Lin Yun's head as if he was patting a child. If the sects in the divine world were to see this scene, they would be shocked. They might even think that the world was abnormal. Although Lin Yun didn't make a move many times, it was still in everyone's heart. Lin Yun was the kind of person who didn't show any mercy to his enemies. But now, he was like a child, allowing Lin Rei to pat his head. He even revealed a look of enjoyment. "Yes, I understand, Father. Don't worry, I will work hard and do my best. I hope to meet you in the holy world soon." At this moment, Lin Yun's heart was filled with determination. He wanted to become an expert who could protect his father and not just let his father protect him. Looking at Lin Yun's resolute gaze, everyone couldn't help smiling as they nodded their heads. They knew that this might be the time for Lin Yun to transform. "Alright, Father will wait for the day when you're strong enough to protect me. I'll wait. If that's the case, I'll be able to live a peaceful life for a period of time." With a smile, he withdrew his hand. With a thought, he removed a dozen interspatial rings from the system and passed them to Lin Yun. "Take this with you. Right now, the sect is in the midst of development and resources are indispensable. These are all the resources that the Qiankuan sect has accumulated since its inception. I believe that with these, the sect will be able to rise to another level." "Yes, I understand." Lin Yun didn't reject the dozen interspatial rings in front of him and directly accepted them. He knew that these things were indispensable if he wanted to become a powerhouse. If he wanted to chase after Lin Rei, then he had to accept these resources. As the saying goes, wealth, magic, companionship, and land. Wealth was the most important thing. "Oh, right." Seeing his son accept it, Lin Rei smiled. "Your uncle Tian was sent out by me to create an information sect. I don't know how he is doing after being separated for so many years. If you have time, go and find him. Find a reliable person to replace him and let him cultivate well. His talent is better than yours. Uncle Tian. Looking at Lin Rei in a daze, he said, I was wondering why I haven't seen Uncle Tian in a while. So it turns out that you were sent out by Father N. Lin Rei nodded. Then, what's the name of the sect? I'll find him too. After not seeing him for so long, I miss him. Lin Yun said with a smile. When he was in the immortal world, it was Lin Tian who sent him away. It was because of this that he had his current achievements. It was also because of that his brother and aunt died. The Celestial Arcanum sect is usually in the form of a restaurant. As for the night, I don't know what it's like. You'll have to find out yourself. Isn't there an information department in the sect? Instruct them to search for it. This way, you'll have more time to cultivate. I understand, Father. Hearing his father's arrangement, Lin Yun wasn't unhappy. After all, this sect was created by his father and he was forced to take over by Lin Rei. That's good. Seeing Lin Yun nod, Lin Rei smiled and turned to the others. Looking at them, Lin Rei said, Bai Qi and the rest will leave with me. As for Kuei Gang, you guys will stay here and guard the sect. When the sect's strength increases, you can decide to leave and enter the holy world. As for Blood 36 and the others, more than half of them are currently outside searching for natural treasures. After a period of time, we will bring them back and let the alchemists of the sect refine pills for them. At this point, the entire sect will enter closed-door cultivation. Only when all disciples have reached the late-stage God Emperor or middle-stage God Emperor realm can they come out. Do you understand? At this moment, there was nothing but excitement in everyone's hearts. Looking at Lin Rei's orders, they felt as if they had returned to the immortal world and returned to the time when Xian Tian had just founded the sect. In their bodies, a wave of boiling hot blood was lying there. They liked this feeling very much. Yes, Sect Master Lin Yun. We'll definitely bring glory to the sect and enter the holy world as soon as possible to meet you. Put on. The sound of kneeling could be heard. The people who had been standing upright all knelt on the ground and looked at Lin Rei with respect. Rise. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled and nodded. Any one of these people would be an expert if they went out. They stood up and didn't say anything. They just stood there quietly and looked at Lin Rei, waiting for his next instructions. Looking at them, Lin Rei smiled helplessly. Alright, I'm no longer the sect master. I'll have to ask you to take care of my son in the future. However, remember, if he does anything wrong, feel free to discipline him. After all, the basic money here belongs to this little guy's elders. Yes, father is right. Please give me your guidance. Lin Yun didn't dare to refute Lin Li's words. Instead, he had to agree with him. Okay. Nodding, Lin Yun's last wish was fulfilled. There was no need for him to bring Lin Yun down here. There was still a troublesome matter waiting for him in the 9th province. Thinking about it, Lin Rei sighed and said, "Let's go." With that, Lin Rei turned around and rushed out of the hall. However, just as Lin Rei turned around, a voice filled with reluctance rang out. "Grandfather, I don't want to be separated from you. I want to leave with you and pursue the truth of the great Tao." Oh. Hearing this, Lin Yun stopped in his tracks. He turned his head curiously. At this moment, a little girl was standing not far away, looking at him with a determined gaze. Little Ling, you're still young and your cultivation isn't strong. When you're strong enough to protect yourself, grandfather will definitely take you away. However, it's not suitable for you now, so, stay at home and cultivate obediently. When you become the #1 in the God world, I might consider it. Hearing Linli's words, Lin Ling paused for a moment, but then her words became firm again. Her voice was sonorous and forceful, as if she had decided to accept Linli's words. "All right, you said it. When the time comes, I'll definitely become the number one in the God world. When the time comes, you can't go back on your words." Okay. Grandfather definitely won't go back on his words. Of course, when Lin Rei said this, he still felt a little shameless. After all, when his granddaughter became the number one in the God world, he would have already reached the saints' world. Okay. Hearing Lin Rei's words, Lin Ling nodded heavily and hid this matter deep in her heart. However, Lin Rei didn't know that because of his words, Lin Ling worked very hard and finally became the number one in the God world in the shortest time possible. But it was also because of this. The sects in the God world had been bullied by her many times. Okay, let's go. Seeing that the matter had been resolved naturally, he looked at Lin Yun and the others again, then turned around and rushed back to the sect. Whoosh, his speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared from Lin Yun and the others' sight. The matter was resolved just like that, and Lin Rei once again embarked on his journey. Sigh. Let's go. Looking at his father and the others who had disappeared from his sight, Lin Yun sighed, his face was filled with disappointment. Yeah, let's go. I don't know when we'll meet again. Lin Ling nodded at the side. In silence, the father and son looked in the direction Lin Rei and the others left in a daze. The two of them didn't say anything, just looked at each other like that. Time passed little by little, and after an unknown amount of time, Lin Ling came back to her senses. With a determined gaze, she looked at her father and said, "Father, I plan to leave." Sigh. I knew that you wouldn't give up so easily. There was no surprise, only a sigh. How could he not know his daughter's thoughts? Yes, I want to catch up to grandfather's footsteps, I want to become a supreme existence, I want to stand at the peak of the Tao, I want to stand together with grandfather. Filled with determination, she said to him. However, hearing his daughter's words, Lin Yun's body trembled. He lowered his head to look at his daughter beside him, and in her, Lin Yun saw the shadow of his father. That kind of determined and courageous figure. He knew that he couldn't stop her. All right, since you've decided, then do what you want to do. But Lin Yun seemed to have thought of something as he said, "Go and see your mother before you leave. After all, we don't know when you'll be back." Okay, I'll go now. Hearing this, Lin Ling was stunned. Then, she nodded in agreement, turned around, and rushed into the depths of the Xuanzong sect. Looking at his daughter's departing figure, Lin Yun sighed, his face filled with envy. How great would it be if I could be like you? Time passed little by little. At the entrance of vast Origin City in the northern part of the 9th Prefecture, a group of people majestically walked over from afar. They didn't walk very quickly, as if they were looking at the scenery, chatting and laughing as they walked. Husband, is this the northern part of the 9th Prefecture? At this moment, there were two women following behind the young man. The women's figures were covered by loose clothes. As for their faces, they were covered by a veil. However, what was exposed was extremely white like jade. Their skin was as white as ice and their bones were as white as jade. They gave people the feeling that they would fall in love at first sight. One look and one would know that they were beauties. At this moment, a woman in purple clothes asked the young man in the lead. Yes. That's right, this is vast Origin City in the northern part. However, I've never been here before. Although I've been here before, it was for the purpose of cultivation, so. The young man shrugged as if he didn't know anything. Oh. In response, the woman didn't ask any more questions. Instead, she obediently kept quiet. Young master, I'll go and book a room for you first. When you arrive, everything will be ready. However, at this moment, the woman in purple clothes stopped talking, a young man walked over from behind and said, "Okay. That's good too. In that case, Ming, you can go with Bai Qi. Be careful on the way and don't cause any trouble." At this moment, the person who spoke was none other than Lin Rei and the others who had left the Xuanzong sect. After several months of arduous travel, Lin Rei had finally led them to the 9th province. At the same time, this was also the first city they saw after arriving in the 9th province. Beside him were his 2 beautiful wives, Bing and Ing. After hearing Lin Rei's instructions, Ming walked out from the crowd and bowed to Lin Rei. Then, she left with Bai Qi and quickly walked toward Vast Origin City. "Let's go." Seeing the 2 people's figures gradually getting farther and farther away, Lin Rei lifted his foot and walked forward. At this moment, Lin Wanyu and the others who had followed behind him couldn't help but exclaim, "TSK, the city in the 9th province is much more magnificent than the other 8 provinces of the Divine Realm. It's really, simply. That's right, this place, oh, a beauty." Suddenly, before Lin Yuro could finish her words, a voice filled with flirtation sounded from the side. The voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. As a hierarch, Lin Li naturally heard it and was attracted by the voice. Among Lin Rei and the others, the person with the lowest cultivation was still a god emperor. Therefore, when they heard the voice, they all became interested and began to watch the show. "What did you say?" At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who was being flirted with, was stunned. She turned her head and saw an extremely handsome young man holding a folding fan in his hand and wearing luxurious clothes. With a single glance, one could tell that he was a young man from a wealthy family. However, when Lin Wanyu saw the greed and lust in the young man's deep affection, her expression suddenly changed. "Beauty, this young master is the son of Vast Origin City Lord, Fang Han, Fang Xiaoyun. Furthermore, I am the personal disciple of the Rain Sect's elder Tian Lin. How about it? Why don't you follow this young master into Vast Origin City and find a restaurant? We can eat while discussing life philosophy. What do you think?" Hearing Fang Xiaoyun's words, everyone present, including Lin Rei, was stunned. Their expressions were filled with astonishment. Is he fucking courting death? Chapter 841. At this moment, everyone was looking at Fang Xiaoyun as though they were looking at an idiot. They had never thought that Lin Wanyu would be teased by someone like that. Naturally, the moment Fang Xiaoyun teased Lin Wanyu, everyone could already see the future of Fang Xiaoyun and the future of Vast Origin City. They could also see the end of his father, Fang Han. Looks like, our little Yu is quite popular. At this moment, Lin Li couldn't help but say. Everyone stared in shock at Lin Li's words. Of course, Lin Wanyu heard it as well, and her face turned red with embarrassment. Of course, the only thing she felt toward Lin Li and Fang Xiaoyun, who had dared to flirt with her, was fury, boundless fury. Ever since she started cultivating, even though there were people who dared to tease her, in the end, those who dared to tease her could only happily walk on the road to the Yellow Springs. But ever since she entered the divine world, she had never heard of anyone who dared to tease her. That was because of her strength and the reputation of the Xuanzong sect. But now, at this moment, she actually heard someone teasing her. Furthermore, looking at Fang Xiaoyun's cultivation, he was merely a deity emperor. In the divine world, he was at most a lower middle-level existence. Lin Wanyu could not figure out who exactly gave him the guts to tease a middle-stage god emperor. After calming herself down, Lin Wanyu ignored the gazes of the surrounding people. Instead, her gaze landed on Fang Xiaoyun. Looking at him coldly, she spoke. "You are called Fang Xiaoyun? What is your father's cultivation?" Also, what kind of power is the rain sect you mentioned? And what is the cultivation of that so-called elder Tianlin you mentioned? One question after another was asked by Lin Wanyu. Although she was not afraid at all, she still wanted to know. She wanted to know who could raise such a despicable disciple. She wanted to see who it was that could relieve the hatred in her heart. Looks like little Yu is furious. She intends to teach everyone related to him a lesson. Meanwhile, Linley frowned, and then his brows relaxed as he spoke. Sigh. How pitiful. I hope that Elder Heavenly Qilin won't personally deal with him once he finds out that his last disciple has offended a god emperor. At this moment, Lin Rei and the others were speaking very softly. Only a few people could hear them. My father's cultivation is very strong. He's a godly lord and a city lord with countless subordinates. In this place, my father is the emperor. As long as my father speaks, no one dares to say no. As he spoke, Fang Xiaoyun's face was filled with pride. It was as if he was talking about himself, as if he was the king of this place. As for my master, Elder Tianlin, he is an outer court elder of the Rain Sect. His cultivation is at the late stage of the Divine Lord realm, and he has countless disciples. As for the Rain Sect, it's one of the 7 great sects in the entire God realm. Tell me, am I strong or not? I'm the young city lord of a city, and I'm also a disciple of the Rain Sect. If you follow me, I guarantee that you'll live a good life, and you'll be able to do whatever you want in the God realm. As he spoke, Fang Xiaoyun couldn't help but pat his chest and half open his eyes. In response, Lin Rei and the others looked at the silly Fang Xiaoyun with a smile. Among them, Jia Yang was laughing so hard that he was swaying back and forth. The amused smile on his face was even more obvious. Rain Sect? Heh. Others might not know, but he was very clear. Back in the ancient corpse trove, several old ancestors of the Rain Sect were killed by Lin Rei, not to mention the Rain Sect. Of course, he would say this out loud. Since Lin Rei didn't say anything, why should he? Eat good food and drink spicy wine, heh. Hearing Fang Xiaoyun's words, Lin Wanyu's complexion became extremely ugly. Regarding this bastard in front of her, she wanted to kill him. No, make him beg for death. Thinking about this, Lin Wanyu turned her head and looked at Lin Rei. Her expression was filled with questions. Do as you see fit. You can do whatever you want. Understanding her meaning, Lin Rei shrugged and said indifferently. I understand. After getting Lin Rei's approval, Lin Wanyu was completely relaxed. After all, she had just arrived. Without Lin Rei's approval, she wouldn't dare to act recklessly, but now, it was different. With Lin Rei's approval, she would naturally take her revenge. However, when Fang Xiaoyun, who was originally smiling, heard the conversation between Lin Rei and Lin Wanyu, he felt the atmosphere suddenly become heavy. His body couldn't help but tremble at this moment. This feeling made Fang Xiaoyun very uncomfortable. It was as if a poisonous snake had locked him in place. It made his entire body uncomfortable. Fang Xiaoyun, right? At this moment, Lin Wanyu moved. Looking at him, she walked step by step towards him. However, Fang Xiaoyun didn't think about what would happen to him. At this moment, he only knew that there was a beauty in front of him and she was walking towards him. In his eyes, Lin Wanyu was walking towards him to throw herself into his arms. Therefore, Fang Xiaoyun nodded and said without the slightest scruple, "Of course, I am Fang Xiaoyun, your future husband. Come." Ha ha ha, arrogant laughter came from Fang Xiaoyun's mouth. At this moment, the entire place was filled with silence. Only Fang Xiaoyun's laughter could be heard. Very good, very good. Looking at Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu was stunned. Then, she continued, ever since this young lady started on the path of cultivation, I have never seen someone who doesn't care about his life. You dare to tease this young lady. How many lives do you think you have? Divine Sovereign? Heh, is he very strong? Rain Sect, is he very strong? Her expression was filled with disdain as she looked at Fang Xiaoyun. Do you want to know what happened to the person who teased this young lady before? Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Fang Xiaoyun was stunned and subconsciously asked, what happened? At this moment, even the dumbest person would feel that something was wrong. Moreover, at this moment, a trace of danger rose in his heart. A voice rang in his mind. Run, run, quickly leave this place. Of course, Fang Xiaoyun only thought that this voice was a hallucination. After all, as the saying goes, if one dies under a peony flower, it is still romantic even if one becomes a ghost. Heh. Lin Wanyu sneered and stood in front of Fang Xiaoyun. She coldly said, those who tried to tease this young lady are all dead. Hiss, what? Hearing this, Fang Xiaoyun's heart trembled. At the same time, he finally knew what was wrong. However, it was already too late. Because, at this moment, a hand had already appeared in front of him. Pa! The sound of a slap rang out. After hearing this, the people who came and went were all stunned. F***ck, isn't this the son of City Lord Fang Hun? This beast is doing something outrageous again. Tisk, outrageous? I don't think so. Didn't you see that he was slapped just now? I feel that this time, Fang Xiaoyun seems to have kicked an iron plate, tsk. Yeah, look at this group of people, if they are not from sects, then they are from aristocratic families. I feel that this time, Fang Xiaoyun might have really provoked a powerful faction. At this moment, the people who came and went began to chat in their minds. They all knew Fang Xiaoyun. Fang Xiaoyun, they only had a few words for him. Beast, worse than a beast, why didn't the heavens take him away? Of course, Lin Rei and the others did not know these words in the minds of the passers-by. At this moment, Lin Rei was completely in a state of watching a show. You hit me? At this moment, Fang Xiaoyun recovered from his shock. A burning sensation came from his left cheek. At this moment, other than shock, he was endlessly stunned. He really did not expect that in front of his own house, he would be slapped in the face. Moreover, it was by the woman he liked. Heh, hit you? Lin Wanyu looked at Fang Xiaoyun as if she was looking at an idiot. Do you think that hitting you can eliminate the hatred in this young lady's heart? Don't you think it's too cheap? What, you? Hearing this, Fang Xiaoyun's expression changed. Finally, he realized that something was wrong. You. What do you want? This is Vast Origin City, a place under the jurisdiction of the Rain Sect. You. Stuttering, he used the faction behind him to threaten Lin Wanyu. However, Fang Xiaoyun did not know that because of him, his entire family was on the path of destruction. Oh. Vast Origin City. How amazing. Looking at Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu was suddenly shocked. But soon, her originally shocked expression turned into disdain and contempt. It was as if what he said was nothing. Crack, the sound of bones breaking suddenly rang out. Accompanying the sound was a melodious scream of pain. Plop. Fang Xiaoyun, who was originally standing, was now lying on the ground, holding his left leg. His face was contorted in pain. Because of the pain, his expression became sinister. Cold sweat instantly covered his face, and his complexion became extremely pale. Bastard, you. You stinking bitch, you actually, dry tongue. Hearing Fang Xiaoyun's curses, Lin Wanyu frowned. Immediately, she threw a hand seal into Fang Xiaoyun's mouth. Pfff. The instant Lin Wanyu's hand seal entered Fang Xiaoyun's mouth, a mouthful of blood spurted out. Accompanying the blood was a piece of flesh. If one looked carefully, one would be able to see that it was flesh. Moreover, it was a tongue. Fang Xiaoyun's head. Ugh! Ah! A groaning sound came from Fang Xiaoyun's mouth. However, at this moment, Fang Xiaoyun was no longer holding his left leg. Instead, he was holding his mouth with his hand. He looked at Lin Wanyu, at this beautiful but extremely cruel woman. He was afraid. He regretted it. If he had known that this would be the result, he would not have done this. Moreover, he realized that when Lin Wanyu attacked, he did not react at all. It was not that he did not want to, but that he did not see how Lin Wanyu attacked. What's going on? What's going on? Suddenly, a furious roar sounded. At this moment, just as Fang Xiaoyun was screaming in pain, a pair of armored guards came from afar. In response, Lin Rei frowned and his face darkened. It was as if this group of people had interrupted a good show. He was very unhappy. It's over, it's over. These are the guards of vast origin city. They are Fang Hun's private soldiers. Sigh, who said otherwise? Now that Fang Xiaoyun has become like this, those private soldiers will definitely not let this matter rest. Moreover, Fang Hun only has one son. They will definitely not let this matter rest. Sigh, these people are in danger. Oh. Private soldiers? Hearing the discussions around him, Linley's face was filled with a cold smile. Since they are private soldiers, then there's no need to keep them. This subordinate will be back soon. However, at this moment, when Tianyun heard Lin Rei's words, he understood tacitly. He immediately left the crowd and slowly walked towards the group of private soldiers. Woo-woo. At this moment, no one was happier than Fang Xiaoyun. When he heard the words of the private soldiers, he felt a sense of hope. In order to attract the attention of the private soldiers, Fang Xiaoyun ignored the pain of having his tongue cut off and began to whimper with all his might. On the other side, the private soldier who was walking towards Linley's group heard the strange noise and looked over. His gaze fell on Fang Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground with a mouth full of blood and a savage face. Immediately, he frowned, and a baleful aura erupted from his body. Are all of you seeking death? Even my young master dares to treat you in such a manner. You all. Enough, come at me together. If I kill all of you, I'll have to report back to my superiors. Just when the leader of the private soldiers was halfway through speaking, Tianyun arrived and stood in front of them with a look of disdain. You are with that group as well? The leader of the private soldiers asked with a frown. Sigh. Then, why do you all have to talk so much nonsense before attacking? Looking at them, Tianyun sighed and shook his head. Then, his expression froze, and a sharp aura burst out. I gave you all a chance, but you didn't cherish it. Since that's the case, then, this sovereign will be the first to attack. What? Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was stunned. However, when he looked over, there was still a figure in front of him. Not good. Be on guard. At this moment, he knew that this person's cultivation was extremely high. As for how high, he didn't know. However, he knew that this person's cultivation was higher than his. However, the moment he said that, miserable cries came from behind him. Following the miserable cries were the sounds of people falling down. Hearing this, the leader of the private soldiers was shocked and quickly turned around. However, what he saw was something he would never forget for the rest of his life. At this moment, the 20 or so guards who came with him were no longer like before. They were all in high spirits. At this moment, they were all lying on the ground. Bright red blood had already corroded the ground. You, who exactly are you? Looking at Tianyun, who was standing in the middle of the corpses, the leader of the private soldiers asked. At this moment, he knew that he had lost this time. You don't need to know. All you need to know is that your beloved city lord will be reunited with you very soon. After saying that, without waiting for the leader of the private soldiers to respond, Tianyin's figure flashed past them and walked toward Lin Rei. Pft! Pft! A line of blood appeared on the throat of the leader of the private soldiers. In an instant, a gush of hot blood spurted out like a fountain. This. How could this be? Feeling the strange sensation in his throat, the leader raised his hand subconsciously and wiped his throat. Then, he placed his hand in front of his eyes. When he saw the bright red blood, his vision blurred. Then, everything turned black and his body fell backward. Just like that, a group of elites in vast Origin City was killed in a few breaths. Chapter 842. Woo. Originally, when he saw the private soldier, a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. However, when he saw the private soldier being killed in an instant, he completely despaired. Others might not know, but he knew it very well. Although they were all guards, they were all existences in the divine ancestor realm. Thus, to be able to kill them in an instant, let alone a divine ancestor realm expert, even his father, Fang Hun, who was a lord god, would not be able to do so. At this moment, he finally knew what kind of people he had offended. They were people he couldn't afford to offend. His family couldn't afford to offend. Even, the Rain Sect, couldn't afford to offend them. Looking at the private soldier's corpse lying in a pool of blood, Fang Xiaoyun forgot about the pain. He smiled bitterly and collapsed on the ground powerlessly. His face was filled with endless regret. He hated himself for being so useless. He hated himself for being so insensible. He hated his mistake for harming the entire Fang clan. He hated everything he had done. Now that he thought about it, he realized how much of a beast he was. How insensible he was. How disgusting he was. However, no matter how much he regretted it, it was too late. He couldn't hold on to anything. What happened yesterday couldn't be left behind. Today, there were too many things to worry about. Everything he had done in the past, everything he had done would be paid for here today. This was his retribution. However, in the end, he had implicated the entire Fang clan. He felt extremely guilty. All right, I won't kill you now. Since you said that your father is powerful, I'll let you know that your so-called powerful father is nothing more than an ant in my eyes. Looking at Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Wanyu said with disdain, as for your family, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Huh. Lying on the ground, listening to the voice of the Grim Reaper, he looked at Lin Wanyu with a relieved smile. He no longer resisted, he no longer cried out in pain. It was as if he had already gotten used to the pain. It was as if he had gotten used to it. Since you've decided, let's go to the Fang clan together. We'll see how this Fang Hun managed to raise such a rebellious son. At this moment, looking at Lin Wanyu, Lin Rei walked out with a smile. Looking at him, Lin Rei patted his shoulder and said, I understand, master. After obtaining Lin Rei's permission, Lin Wanyu naturally had to go through with it. After all, the anger in her heart had yet to be eliminated. Let's go. As he spoke, he glanced at the nearby Gu Feng. Lin Li instructed, take young Master Fang to Vast Origin City. Let's see what sort of person the city governor of Vast Origin City, Fang Hun, is, for him to actually allow his son to wreak havoc. Yes, this subordinate. Hearing Lin Li's orders, Gu Feng, who had been standing in the middle of the crowd and hadn't said a word, bowed and led himself to Fang Xiaoyun, who was covered in blood and lying on the ground. Remember, if there's in your next life, if there is a next life, of the next life, of the next life, of the next life, of the next of your life, remember, of the Lin. And, just like a balloon, spirit qi transformed into a string. One end was grabbed by Gu Feng, and the other end was pulled above the energy in the air. Seeing Gu Feng's actions, Lin Rui smiled and said, "Let's go." At this moment, Lin Rui and the others moved. They began to walk toward the city gates. As for Lin Wanyu and the others, none of them dared to make a sound. They followed Lin Rui into the city. It seems that the Fang clan is finished this time. This time, the scourge Fang Xiaoyun is finally eliminated. Those who were harmed by him will finally be able to live a peaceful life. That's right. Fang Xiaoyun has been eliminated, but there's still Fang Xiaoyun's mother, Mrs. Han. Although on the surface, it seems that City Lord Fang Han is backing her, to be honest, I'm certain that Mrs. Han is behind all of this. That's right. Every time City Lord Fang Han inspects the city, those who were harmed by Fang Xiaoyun are all imprisoned. As a result, after so many years, Vast Origin City has become like this. I'm certain that the main culprit is Mrs. Han. Sigh. At this point, everyone couldn't help but sigh. How they hoped that Vast Origin City would return to its previous state after this incident. Although it would still be somewhat chaotic, at the very least, there wouldn't be another incident like Fang Xiaoyun's. Vast Origin City. In the central region of the city, there was an extremely majestic house that occupied an area of over 1,000 feet. One couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. The city lord's mansion was the name of this majestic house. At this moment, in the deepest part of the mansion, in a simple and unadorned room, a middle-aged man was sitting cross-legged on a bed. His brows were tightly knitted, and his face was filled with doubt. The spiritual energy in the surroundings was also extremely chaotic. What's going on? Why am I having this feeling at this time? This shouldn't be. Sensing the hope coming from his surroundings and his body, the man's heart was filled with doubt. Report, suddenly, a loud shout came from outside the door. The shout was so loud that the middle-aged man, who was originally in a bad mood, immediately stopped cultivating. His brows were tightly knitted, but his expression was extremely gentle. Moreover, his appearance was extremely inconsistent with the gentleness in his expression. It was as if he had the appearance of a man and the expression of a woman. He raised his head and looked outside the door. At this moment, the middle-aged man had already gotten down from the bed. Moreover, he walked up to the door and extended his hand to open it. What's so urgent? What kind of scandal is this to make you lose your manners? At this moment, the instant the door opened, the face of the person outside was revealed. At this moment, a young man was standing at the door. His body was bowed, and he didn't dare to raise his head. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his body was trembling violently. It was as if something that terrified him had happened. Upon hearing the middle-aged man's voice, the young man's trembling body calmed down a lot. Then, he raised his head and stuttered, "See, City Lord, this is bad." "Why, young City Lord?" "Young City Lord, MN. What happened to him? Isn't he cultivating in the Rain Sect? What happened?" Hearing his subordinate's report, the middle-aged man started to frown. His heart trembled. He felt that what the young man wanted to say was related to his son. At this moment, the middle-aged man was none other than Vast Origin City's city lord, Fang Xiaoyun's father, and Madame Han's husband, Fang Hun. Looking at his subordinate, Fang Hun asked, "Speak, what happened to my son?" At this moment, Fang Hun, who didn't know what was going on, had no idea that his son was already half dead. Young City Lord, he was beaten by someone. His left hand and left leg were broken. Furthermore, what? Fang Hun was greatly alarmed. He had wholeheartedly immersed himself in cultivation. Thus, he felt extremely guilty toward Fang Xiaoyun. In the end, he even personally went to the Rain Sect to plead for leniency so that Fang Xiaoyun could continue to cultivate in the Rain Sect. Never did he expect that his subordinate would actually tell him that his son had an arm and a leg broken by someone. Of course, although he was astonished, Fang Hun did not lose his rationality. Instead, he continued to question the young man. What else did you say? Tell me everything. Sigh. Hearing that, the young man nodded. At the city gate tower, the guards saw that young master's arms and legs were broken. Thus, they immediately went up to question the young master and ordered him to release the young master. However, a person suddenly appeared. That person faced over 20 guards by himself. That person's expression changed as if Mount Tai was about to collapse. In merely a few breaths' time, over 20 of our brothers were instantly killed. We didn't even have the slightest opportunity to fight back. SSSS. Hearing those words, Fang Hun's expression changed. He was unable to restrain himself from sucking in a mouthful of cold air. He knew his subordinates very well. They were all divine ancestor realm cultivators. Even he would not be able to instantly kill experts like them. Chu Fei. Chu Fei's cultivation was stronger than his. He was a martial emperor. Only a martial emperor would possess such strength. Go and prepare some tea and some fruit platters. Bring them to the main hall. Soon, guests will arrive in the mansion. At that moment, Fang Hun had an ugly expression on his face. His body started to tremble slightly. Yes, this subordinate understands. When Fang Hun raised his head and saw the city lord trembling, he knew that this matter was truly serious. City Lord Fang is truly a sensible person. You even prepared tea when you knew that this venerated one and the others would be coming. Suddenly, at the instant Fang Hun gave the order, a man's voice sounded from afar. They're here. Hearing that voice, Fang Hun sighed in his heart. Then, he soared into the sky and looked toward the direction of the city gate. At that moment, a group of people was rapidly flying toward them. With a single glance, Fang Hun knew that they were the group of people that his subordinate had reported to him earlier. Xiaoyun. After Fang Hun's gaze swept past the group of people, his gaze finally landed on Fang Xiaoyun, who was in Gu Feng's hand. His entire body was drenched in blood. Seeing his son in such a state, Fang Hun's body trembled. He staggered and nearly fell from the sky. This lord is the city lord of vast origin city, Fang Hun. Seniors, would it be possible for you all to have a seat in the main hall? Looking at Linli and the others, Fang Hun bowed in an extremely respectful manner. Amen? This person, is he really this little fellow's father? Seeing that Fang Hun was so polite and courteous, without any arrogance at all, Linli was stunned. It was not only Lin Rei. Even Ying, Bing Dong, and the others were the same. They had seen Fang Xiaoyun before. However, when they saw Fang Hun, they did not expect that arrogant, despotic, and profligate bastard to be the child of this person before them. After regaining his senses, Lin Rei looked at Fang Hun and said, Haha. Since City Lord Fang is like this, then this venerated one and the others will be troubling you. Although one could not tell whether a person was good or bad from the surface, one could tell from the person's eyes. Lin Rei could only see heartache, respect, and doubt in Fang Hun's eyes. In response, Lin Rei began to reconsider his previous decision. Should he destroy this place? Should he kill Fang Hun? This was the first time Lin Rei had such a thought. Although Lin Rei did not consider himself a good person, at the very least, he would not be a reluctant person who would persecute people for no reason. After hearing Lin Rei and the others' agreement, Fang Hun smiled and quickly said, You're too kind. It's my honor to have Senior here. There's no need to say that I'm imposing on you. Senior, this way please. Amen, all right. After saying that, Fang Hun led the way to the main hall. They were not far away from the main hall. At this moment, tea and fruit platters were already placed in the main hall. Fang Han, who had checked the main hall, heaved a sigh of relief. He carefully walked to the entrance of the main hall. After standing still, he made an inviting gesture to Lin Rei and the others. "Senior, this way please." "Ha." Seeing Fang Han act so courteously, Lin Li chuckled, then led them into the guest hall. The main hall was very big. Lin Rei and the others could sit down, but it was not crowded. Moreover, there were still empty seats. Lin Rei and the others sat down. As for Fang Xiaoyun, he was released from the energy barrier by Gu Feng. Plop. The energy barrier was released. Fang Xiaoyun fell to the ground like a dead dog. His entire body was in pain and he was powerless. He laid on the ground without moving, except for his eyes. At this moment, Fang Han walked in and looked at his son. His heart ached. However, he did not go forward. Instead, he cupped his fist and looked at Lin Rei. He asked, "Senior, how did my good-for-nothing son offend you?" "Humph, your son is so shameless. I just arrived at the entrance of the city and he immediately insulted me. Moreover, he relied on the pressure of you, the city lord, and that reigned Sect's elder Tian Lin to force me to submit. Tell me, does Emperor need to show mercy to such a person?" At this moment, before Lin Rei could say anything, Lin Wanyu opened her mouth and said angrily. Of course, Lin Wanyu knew that this matter was not as simple as she thought. After all, if Fang Han was really that kind of person who bullied others, how could he be so courteous right now? If it was someone else, they would have already ordered people to surround this place and kill them. What? Take liberties, take liberties. Hearing Lin Wanyu's words, Fang Han was shocked. Emperor. Emperor, other than god emperors, who would dare to call themselves that? However, what shocked Fang Han even more was that his son actually dared to do such a shameless thing. Even if Lin Wanyu was not a god emperor, taking liberties with a young lady was already very excessive. Facing this, Fang Han's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was usually very important to his son, he could not afford to lose face like this. As the lord of a city, his son actually dared to do such a thing. How was he supposed to face himself? Bastard, you unfilial son, your father is usually very important to you. What have you done? How did your mother teach you? After saying that, he raised his head and ordered the guards at the entrance, "Go, call the madam out. Only call her. As for what happened here, do not speak of it. Today, I want to see exactly how his mother teaches her son. Do you understand?" Chapter 843. Seeing Fang Han like this, everyone knew that perhaps what Fang Xiaoyun did had nothing to do with them. Looking at him, Lin Rei couldn't help but pout. He picked up the teacup on the table and began to taste the tea. As a cultivator, Fang Han might be very determined, but as a father, there was no doubt that he was a failure. Of course, Lin Rei and the others couldn't ask for leave. At this moment, they just wanted to see what Fang Han would do next. The scene fell into silence, and the atmosphere was filled with awkwardness and seriousness. Especially Fang Han. He looked at Lin Li and the others, and then looked at the disheartened expression on the ground. For a moment, he did not know what to do. "Report, father is here." Suddenly, a voice sounded. In the hall, other than Lin Rei, everyone's eyes were focused on the entrance of the hall. Everyone wanted to see who the Madam Fang Han was talking about was. However, at this moment, a silhouette dressed in luxurious clothes slowly walked to the entrance of the hall. The silhouette walked into the crowd's line of sight. "Master, when did you come out of seclusion? Why didn't you inform me in advance so that I could greet you in advance?" A voice full of awkwardness and coquettishness came from the noble lady at the door. At this moment, the middle-aged woman came into view. Regardless of whether she was a beauty or not, just by looking at the jewelry on her body, everyone knew that this woman was a disaster. She twisted her body and said as she came to Fang Hun's side. She reached out to pull Fang Hun, but who knew that the moment the woman's hand was about to touch Fang Hun's figure flashed and cleverly dodged the madam's action. Looking at the dodging Fang Hun, the madam's hands stopped in midair. Her breathing suddenly became quiet. The madam originally had a smile on her face. At this moment, her face was gloomy, and a trace of gloominess flashed across her face. Perhaps in the eyes of others, he hid his expression very well. However, in Lin Rei's divine sense, there was nowhere to hide. It could even be said that it was exposed without a doubt. Moreover, just a moment ago, when Lin Rei extended his divine sense, he suddenly discovered something very interesting. Fang Xiaoyun, who was lying on the ground, had a completely different bloodline from Fang Hun. The two bloodlines did not seem to resonate with each other. Sensing this, the previously expressionless Lin Li revealed a hint of an amused smile. Generally speaking, if it was his own son, their bloodlines should resonate with each other, but at this moment, Fang Xiaoyun did not have this feeling at all. This meant that this Fang Xiaoyun might not be Fang Hun's biological son. Coupled with the change in the woman's expression, Lin Rei suddenly thought of something interesting. You always tell me how Xiaoyun usually behaves. Did he use his status as the city lord's young city lord to commit crimes outside? Did he bully others? Did he, what are you talking about? At this moment, hearing her husband's words, the madam's expression suddenly changed, and her body couldn't help but tremble. No? Are you sure? Fang Hun clearly saw the change in the madam's expression, and her expression suddenly changed. Fang Hun's heart thumped, and a bad premonition appeared in his mind. He knew that what Fang Hun said might be true, or even more. Thinking of this, Fang Hun's gaze became sharp, and he took a step closer to the madam. He stared into her eyes, and an invisible pressure was emitted, and he asked again. Xiaoyun. Seeing her husband step closer, the madam couldn't help but take a step back, and her gaze became evasive. However, as she looked away, suddenly, she saw Fang Xiaoyun lying not far away, covered in blood. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she cried out in shock. With a plop, she ran past Fang Hun, directly to Fang Xiaoyun's side, and without caring about her image, she directly knelt down beside him and reached out her hand. Tears flowed from her eyes, and her face was extremely pale, and filled with hatred. How could this be? Who was it? Who was it that broke my son's arm and leg? Who cut off my son's tongue? Who was it that was so cruel, so vicious? A furious roar came from the madam's mouth, and her voice was filled with coldness. In response to the madam's words, Fang Hun's body trembled, and the anticipation on his face completely disappeared. Although his madam was usually a bit troublesome and liked to act spoiled, this was the first time he had seen her in such a state. At the same time, he knew that his son had become like this because of her dereliction of duty as a mother. Perhaps she even knew about the evildoers outside. However, she didn't try to dissuade him, nor did she tell him. She even used her status as the city lord to put pressure on the outside world. Thinking of this, Fang Hun's body trembled, and he suddenly took a step back. His body went limp, and he sat down on the ground, a dazed expression on his face. TSK. At this time, Lin Rei, who hadn't said anything, saw this scene. He knew that he might have wrongly blamed Fang Hun, and felt a bit guilty. Looking at the madam and Fang Xiaoyun, Lin Rei smiled and said, "Just like what you said. Indeed, like mother, like son. How can such a mother teach a good thing?" At this moment, the madam, who was kneeling on the ground, holding her son in pain and speaking viciously from time to time, suddenly raised her head and looked in the direction of the voice. "What do you mean? My son, you didn't do this to him, did you?" The madam seemed to have realized something, and she suddenly stood up and looked at Lin Rei. "That's right. I did do this to your son. He didn't refuse, and he didn't want to lie, because he didn't need to. Furthermore, in order to clear his heart of guilt, he wanted to give Fang Hun some pointers." You bastard." Hearing the other party's confirmation, she subconsciously glanced at her son. Then, she turned her head and looked at her husband with a vicious tone. She said, "Husband, you should say something fair. The person who hurt our son is right here. Hurry up and refine and suppress him. Let Queen extract his soul. Peel his skin and pull out his tendons. Let him suffer all kinds of torture. Let Queen put his soul into the 9 underworlds water. Let him suffer day and night in the 9 underworlds water. Let him suffer for eternity as compensation for our son." After roaring angrily at Fang Hun, Wu Yan didn't say anything else. Instead, he smiled cruelly and looked at Lin Rei and the others, as if waiting for Fang Hun to make a move. However, everything didn't go as the madam expected. After waiting for a long time, her husband didn't make a move. For a moment, she couldn't help but be stunned. Then, with a puzzled expression, she turned to look at her husband. Why don't you make a move?" She looked at her husband who was still sitting on the ground with a dazed expression. Looking at her husband who was still unmoved, the madam was stunned. Her cold smile suddenly disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, it was replaced by a cruel smile. She said to the guards outside the door, "Fine. Since you don't want to do it, then let me end these people's lives as compensation for our son. Where are the guards outside the door? As the madam of the city lord, I order you to restrain this group of people." "Yes, we obey." Hearing the madam's order, the guards outside the door immediately rushed into the hall, intending to make a move. "Back down." Suddenly, just as they were about to rush into the hall, Fang Hun who was sitting on the ground suddenly shouted angrily, "It is true that you are the guards of the city lord's residence, but your job is to protect the city. Get out. Without my order, no one is allowed to enter this place. Do you understand?" Hearing those words, the guards looked at the madam, then looked at Fang Hun. Then, they all obeyed Fang Hun's order and left. Seeing how Fang Hun handled things, the madam's complexion alternated between green and red. Her face was filled with unsightly and resentment. She did not expect that her husband would actually stop her from taking revenge. She looked at him with disbelief, her heart was filled with confusion and anger. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Having lost her chance, the madam raised her head and laughed loudly. Her face was filled with depression, helplessness and sorrow. Only today did he find out that his son and his wife were completely different from what he had imagined. I never expected that my reputation would be ruined by the two of you. After regaining his senses, he looked at the madam and sneered. Just a moment ago, when he heard Lin Rei's words, he personally sensed it. However, at this moment, he finally proved that Lin Rei was right. That was because he didn't feel the slightest bit of resonance between their bloodlines from Fang Xiaoyan's body. What? God? God Emperor? How is this possible? How could he be a God Emperor? This. At this moment, the madam was truly afraid. Originally, she thought that the other party wasn't very strong and could still shirk responsibility. However, the other party was actually a God Emperor. This was completely unexpected. At this moment, she knew that the matter might have been exposed. What should she do? Sigh. I didn't expect that I, Fang Han, would be troubled by this matter one day. Looking at the madam, Fang Han's heart was filled with pain. He truly didn't expect that his wife would actually make him a cuckold. Furthermore, what made him even angrier was that the son that he had painstakingly raised had actually become someone else's son. No matter how strong Fang Han's heart was, he still couldn't endure such a blow in the end. Gu Feng, go. Bring them out. While you're at it, search the entire city lord's mansion. Find someone whose bloodline resonates with Fang Xiaoyun's. If you find them, capture them as well. At this moment, seeing the struggle and hesitation in Fang Han's eyes, Lin Rui was stunned for a moment. After a sigh, he said to Gu Feng. Yes, this subordinate obeys. After receiving the order, Gu Feng appeared beside the madam and Fang Han in a flash. Then, he brought them with him and instantly disappeared from the main hall. Seeing Lin Rui's actions, Fang Han's expression was filled with confusion. He didn't understand why Lin Rui was acting like this. This sovereign admires you. Seeing the confusion in Fang Han's eyes, Lin Rui smiled. Then, he said, this sovereign admires your character very much. Furthermore, your cultivation level isn't low either. If you submit to this sovereign can help you reach a higher level. You can even break through a realm that you can't even imagine. What do you think? It was because of this heart that Lin Li had the idea of subduing him for his own use. Looking at him, Lin Rui comforted him. I'll leave this matter to you. As for the specifics, it's your family's matter. But remember, I'll only give you 3 days. As he spoke, he seemed to think of something. With a thought, he took out an empty bottle from his interspatial ring and threw it to Fang Han. This pill should be able to help you break through the middle stage and enter the late stage. It's your compensation. At this moment, in the hall, Fang Han came back to his senses and subconsciously reached out to catch the pill. He looked down and revealed a strange expression. Let's go. He didn't say anything else. Lifting his feet, he walked out. This time, Lin Li really did leave. He didn't look back. Lin Rui didn't want to guess about Fang Han, but Lin Rui still hoped that he could submit to him. This way, perhaps one day in the future, he would become one of his generals. Is the heavens playing with me? Why are they doing this to me? Where is my beautiful wife? Where is my son? Why did it become like this? My wife had an affair with the butler behind my back, and my son isn't even his. More importantly, he had raised Fang Xiaoyun to this age. Even though he wasn't his biological son, he had raised him. It would be a lie to say that he didn't have any feelings for him. At this moment, Fang Han was in a difficult situation. He didn't know what to do with his wife and son. Of course, this was only for his wife and son. As for the butler, Fang Han wouldn't be merciful. Thinking about this, a trace of killing intent rushed out of his eyes, and he said, Men. Haka. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. A young man wearing armor walked in from outside the door. When he saw Fang Han, he suddenly knelt on the ground and said, Subordinate Lu Yun greets the city lord. I wonder what orders the city lord has for this subordinate to come here. Lu Yun. Hearing the young man's report, Fang Han paused for a moment before coming back to his senses. He didn't think too much and said, Go and bring the butler, madam, and Xiaoyun here. Hearing this, Lu Yun was startled, but he quickly said, Yes, this subordinate will do it right away. Saying this, Lu Yun got up and rushed outside. Looking at Lu Yun's disappearing figure, Fang Han felt powerless. He was no longer the tall, mighty, and intimidating city lord from before. Thump, thump, thump. Fang Han took a few steps back and sat down on a chair powerlessly. At this moment, Fang Han was paralyzed, and his face was filled with sorrow. Not long after, Lu Yun returned, and he brought the butler, his wife, and son. Looking at the people outside, Fang Han forced himself to calm down and said, "Come in." "Yes." Hearing this, Lu Yun brought the three people into the hall and threw them on the ground. He tactfully retreated to the side and didn't say anything. Seeing Lu Yun like this, Fang Han was stunned for a moment, but then he felt relieved. He shifted his gaze to his wife, son, and housekeeper. Looking at them, a murderous aura swept past Fang Han's eyes and disappeared in an instant. "Ai. Tell me, did this lord not treat you well? Why did you betray this lord, and this child, is not this lord's? Why didn't you say so earlier? If you had said so earlier, perhaps this lord wouldn't be like this now, and perhaps I would have let your family leave." "You." Looking at his wife, Han Shi, Fang Han powerlessly spoke. It could be seen that Fang Han cared a lot about Han Shi. "Ah, you think we left? You didn't treat me badly? Fang Han, who are you trying to fool?" Hearing this, Han Shi's heart seemed to be touched. Her face became slightly angry as she roared at Fang Han. "I've been married to you for hundreds of years, and although you treated me very well and let me enjoy a life that all women would envy, but you have to know that I am a woman, and I cannot live without you. But what about you? Other than cultivation, all I do is cultivate. Have you ever thought about me? Have you ever thought about how I lived? In the family, I was afraid that those gossipy people would find out, so I rarely went back." As she spoke, tears gushed out of Han Shi's eyes. It was as if this matter was an eternal wound to her. Hearing his wife's words, Fang Han was stunned. His expression was filled with difficulty. He did not think that this would bring her harm. Moreover, cultivation. The reason why he worked so hard to cultivate, wasn't it all for the sake of letting them live a good life? If he did not have powerful abilities, how could he have sat on the position of the city lord? If he did not have powerful abilities, how could she wear gold and silver and not have to worry about food and clothing? If he did not have powerful abilities, how could he protect his family? At this moment, hearing his wife's words, Fang Han was a bit unable to accept it. "What you said is only an excuse for you to betray this lord, you." As he spoke, Fang Han sighed and then turned his spear to point at the trembling housekeeper. Looking at him, a shocking murderous aura rushed out of his body and locked onto him. "You're very good. I did not think that after all these years, this lord would personally raise an ingrate." Fang Han's heart was filled with regret towards the housekeeper. "If I had known earlier, I would not have saved you from the wolves. Now, you..." Saying this, Fang Han closed his eyes and a tear flowed out from his eye. His face was filled with grief. Silence. No one spoke. Hearing this, Lu Yun's heart was filled with shock. He did not think that such a shocking thing would happen today. Sigh. The scene was broken by Fang Han's sigh. He recovered from his grief and wiped away the tears on his face. "Lu Yun, take the housekeeper away. Take good care of him. Do not let him die early. As for the rest, do as you deem fit." "Yes. Yes, this subordinate. This subordinate obeys." Lu Yun did not want to accept this order. After all, this had already touched on the city lord's family matters. However, he could not do anything about it. In the end, he accepted it. After responding, Lu Yun went forward and grabbed the housekeeper's hand. After bowing to Fang Han, he left. Seeing Lu Yun leave, Fang Han slowly got up and went to Han Shi's side. Looking at her, Fang Han did not say anything. He sighed and then raised his hand to slap Han Shi's head. Bang! A muffled sound rang out. At this moment, Han Shi was completely stunned. Her expression was filled with disbelief and regret. With a sigh, he left Han Shi's side and went to Fang Xiaoyun's side. Looking at the unconscious Fang Han, he raised his hand to deal with him, but, however, the instant he raised his hand, the memories of the past appeared in his mind. Regarding this, he hesitated. Forget it. With a sigh, he turned and left. In the end, he did not have the determination to deal with Fang Xiaoyun. As the saying goes, if you can't play, you won't be annoyed. Since Han Shi was already dead, this matter was over. Ignoring it, he turned and left the hall. Liaoyuan East City, in a restaurant for guests from afar, Lin Rei and the others came out of the city lord's residence and stopped in front of the door. Is this the restaurant that Bai Qi and Ming booked? It looks pretty good. It is indeed not bad. Ying agreed with a happy smile. Let's go. He nodded and agreed. Then, he walked into the guests from afar. Do you want to eat or stay here? Right at this moment, as soon as Linli entered the restaurant, a waiter walked over from afar, and a classic sentence entered the ears of Linli and the others. Looking at the waiter, Lin Rei smiled and said, someone has already booked it. Oh. The waiter nodded, since that's the case, please take a seat. There are so many of you here, it's a bit, okay. Understanding the waiter's intentions, Linli smiled awkwardly and walked towards an empty area. Even though there were many people, they were still able to sit down. Seeing this, no one was too reserved. After Lin Rei sat down, they also sat down. Waiter, look at the number of people. Let's order your signature dishes and open the restaurant. That's all. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Lin Rei said. Okay. Hearing that the customer ordered so many dishes, the waiter was naturally happy and left immediately. Phew. Letting out a long breath, a smile appeared on his face. Xiaoyu, this time, the main purpose of your trip here is to train. Thus, Master is going to give you a mission. Do you dare to accept it? At this moment, looking at his eldest disciple, Linli opened his mouth and asked. What is it, Master? At this moment, Lin Wanyu, who had been bored to death, suddenly became interested. She had come here to increase her cultivation level, and Linli's actions were exactly what she wanted. It's simple. This time, the Rain Sect is involved. Therefore, your mission is to challenge the Rain Sect. How about it? Do you dare to accept this mission? Challenge the Rain Sect? At this moment, Lin Wanyu was stunned. She wasn't as excited as before. After this incident, she understood that the Rain Sect was a super sect here. There were many supreme gods and a few supreme gods in the sect. With her current cultivation, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to make it out alive in the end. Understanding Lin Wanyu's thoughts, Lin Rei smiled and said, Don't worry. If you want to go, you won't be alone. I will send Bai Qi and Dian Wei with you. At that time, you just have to do what you need to do. Don't worry about anything else. No one will be able to disturb you. Hearing this, Lin Wanyu, who was originally hesitating, immediately became determined and agreed. Okay, I promise, Master. Then when do I act? Seeing her change, Lin Rei was stunned. Then, he understood. After this meal, you can act whenever you want. Bai Qi and the others will follow you. Okay, I understand. She nodded and didn't say anything else. This matter was taken care of. However, Lin Rei didn't stop there. Instead, he said to his second disciple, Shuiyuan, you go too. You go to the Sword Sect. I will also send Tian Yun and Ming Ming to follow you. Chapter 845. Oh, okay. After being stunned for a moment, he recovered and hurried down. Estranged Yuan didn't resist at all. He was even a little excited. After all, to be able to challenge an entire sect, although not all of them, could increase his knowledge and experience. Estranged Yuan was very willing to do so. If that's the case, Master, I'll take my leave after this meal. At this moment, Estranged Yuan volunteered. With that, he quickly turned to Tianyun and Ming. Looking at them, Estranged Yuan smiled and said, "Please take care of me in the future." "No, it's just part of our job." Seeing Estranged Yuan being so polite, Tianyun and Ming smiled. Good." Seeing them like this, Lin Rei was relieved. "Okay, since that's the case, we'll do as you said. After this meal, you can leave." With that, he looked at Cullen and Ling Yuro. Just like before, he looked at them. "The same goes for the two of you." With that, Lin Rei looked at Ying and Bing with a guilty expression. He had asked them to come out and have fun, but now, tell us, what do you want us to do? As Lin Rei's wives, when they saw the guilty expression in Lin Rei's eyes, they knew what Lin Rei was thinking. No one knows me better than Ying. Seeing that Ying had guessed his thoughts, Lin Rei didn't think too much about it. He said, "It's simple. This time, you two follow Little Four to the equipment refining sect and check on them. After so many years of being in a high position, it's time for them to be on their guard." As he spoke, a devilish smile appeared at the corners of Linley's lips. Seeing this, Shadow's lips twitched. He knew what was going on. Then she nodded and said, "I know. Don't worry. With the two of us here, we'll guarantee Little Four's safety." That's great." With that, a tender and worried expression appeared on his face. "Little Four's safety is guaranteed, but you two have to be safe too. Otherwise, I'll be sad. There are so many people." Hearing their husband say this, Ice and Shadow blushed. They stretched out their hands and placed them on Linley's waist. On the soft flesh of Linley's waist, they used their womanly fingers. A muffled groan came from Lin Rei's mouth. Of course, this was just an act by Lin Rei. After all, his body was already at the half-step saint realm. Even if the two of them were powerful, they still wouldn't be able to hurt him. Of course, the reason why he did this was to cooperate with his wife. All right, I'll leave Little Four to you. But remember, there's always someone better out there. Don't be careless. Go there safely and return safely. Do you understand?" "Yes, I understand." Looking at their husband's serious face, the two of them nodded seriously and didn't say anything, and, nodding, his gaze landed on Karen. Looking at his fifth disciple, Lin Rei was worried. After all, among his disciples, he was the only one who was still at the peak of the early-stage God-Emperor realm. Looking at Karen, Lin Rei slowly said, "Fifth brother, you should go to the Danzong sect. I'm familiar with that place. There are many experts there. You're only at the peak of the early-stage God-Emperor realm, so remember, you have to be careful. Of course, this is just your first mission. After you finish challenging the Danzong sect, you can challenge the Array sect if your cultivation improves. Remember, you have to be strong before you can go. Do you understand?" At this moment, Lin Rei's face was solemn and worried. The Array sect is a sect that specializes in cultivating arrays. Of course, the cultivators there are very strong. So if you really go to the Array sect, don't let your emotions affect your decisions. You have to focus on comprehending arrays. If you can break through to the late-stage Emperor realm in your comprehension of arrays, that would be the best. Yes, your disciple understands. Don't worry, Master. Your disciple will definitely remember your words. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Right now, Cullen was extremely excited. If everything really went according to Linley's plan, that would be perfect. After all, ever since Lin Xianyuan broke through, they were all brothers. They were all working hard to surpass him. Kue Gang, you and Red Lotus should go together. In addition to Jiayang, you should take this opportunity to temper yourself. Saying that, his gaze landed on Jiayang by the side. His eyes were filled with an inquiring light. I understand. I will. Jiayang nodded and didn't reject. After all, he also felt that this was a rare opportunity and didn't want to miss it. Nodding, a smile appeared on their faces. With this, the 4 disciples all went out. The only one left was Xiaofan. Because he had just broken through, Lin Rei didn't plan to send him out on a mission. Instead, he wanted to keep him by his side and let him slowly temper himself. At this moment, everyone's gaze landed on Lin Xianyuan. At this moment, everyone was very curious about what mission Lin Rei would give him. At this moment, seeing everyone's gaze on his 3rd disciple, Lin Rei smiled. His heart was like a mirror, he knew what everyone was thinking. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Lin Rei spoke, Xiaofan, you have just broken through to the early stage of the hierarch realm. Your realm isn't very stable yet. Also, I felt that your principles weren't very stable. So, follow me for this period of time. As for what to do, I will tell you when the time comes. What? Teacher, 3rd junior brother. Why doesn't 3rd junior brother go out to train? Yes, teacher. Although 3rd junior brother has broken through to the hierarch realm, but, Moss. Teacher, I also want to be by your side. I also want to be by your side, teacher. At this moment, when they heard Lin Rei's arrangement for Lin Xianyuan, the disciples reacted violently. Seeing his senior sister and junior brother's reaction, Lin Xianyuan was stunned. He didn't expect this to happen, let alone encounter such a situation. Seeing his senior sister and junior brother's protest, Lin Xianyuan frowned. He then looked at Lin Rei and begged, Teacher, junior brother world is right. Although I am at the early stage of the hierarch realm, I still, enough. Not waiting for little 3 to finish, Linley said in a low voice. His previously gentle face was now gone. All that was left was a gloomy, uncertain face, a face that caused everyone to feel dread. Lin Wanyu and the others immediately knew that they had lost their composure. They lowered their heads and didn't say anything. Looking at his disciples, Lin Rei said angrily, Look at you. You are all emperor gods. Why are you still so impetuous? I have my reasons for letting Xiaofan stay here. Moreover, he is at the early stage of the hierarch realm and has the Xianyuan sword. Even a late-stage hierarch realm expert might not be able to defeat Xiaofan. Tell me, do you still need to let him go out and carry out the mission with such strength? At this moment, the scene fell into silence. No one dared to speak. This matter is settled. Xiaofan will follow me. As for Pai Xiu and 8th baby, go out and take a look. See if there are any good treasures in the 9th state. I believe that with 8th baby's help and Pai Xiu's cultivation, you can do whatever you want in the 9th state. After 500 years, we will gather here. At that time, I might be able to bring you into the holy world. Hiss, as soon as he said that, everyone present was stunned. The holy world was a place that all cultivators dreamed of. At this moment, they were working so hard to enter the holy world. So? You only need 500 years to enter the holy world? Are you sure you can jump 2 small realms in 500 years? At this moment, 8th baby regained his senses and questioned. One should know that a small realm of the hierarch realm was not the same as a divine monarch or divine emperor realm. An ordinary person would need more than a few hundred years to break through a small realm. Some people would even go into seclusion for 10,000 years or even longer just to break through a small realm of the hierarch realm. If those hierarch-level cultivators were to hear Linley's words, most likely, they would all gang up and attack him. Alright, let's do it. At this moment, Pai Xiu suddenly opened his mouth with a confident smile. If it was someone else, Pai Xiu might not believe it. However, since it was Lin Rei who said it, the result would be different. Do you know what you are saying? 500 years, how is that possible? At this moment, Eighth Baby's face was filled with manliness. He could not understand why Pai Xiu would trust Lin Rei so much. Don't worry, this kid is not an ordinary person. Others might not be able to do it, but he can. He might not even need 500 years to reach that height. Seeing the Pai Xiu praise him like this, Linley couldn't help but smile bitterly. To be honest, 500 years, even his heart was beating like a drum. But, he had to say 500 years, because at this moment, he only had 500 years left. He didn't have any more. Alright, let's eat. At this moment, the atmosphere became a little cold. At this moment, all the dishes were served on the table. In response, Lin Rei quickly said. Alright, just like that, everyone gave up on the previous 500 years and entered a state where they could eat. At this moment, Lin Rei was calculating in his heart. To be honest, his cultivation had already reached the peak of the middle hierarch realm. He was only a step away from the late hierarch realm. However, it was this step that required an opportunity to break through. And this opportunity might come in the next moment, 10 years, 100 years, or even 1,000 years. At this moment, Lin Rei was very worried. Just how was he going to break through to the next realm in the group? Just like he said, he didn't have much time left. Even though it was only 500 years, in the eyes of cultivators, this time was just the blink of an eye. One closed-door cultivation, one experiential learning time would be gone in a flash. At this moment, no one spoke. They all ate in unison, ignoring each other. City Lord's residence. In the deepest part of the City Lord's residence, in Fang Hun's room, Fang Hun had already returned to his room. As for the matter of his wife and son, he had already settled it. Madame Han died, but Fang Hun couldn't do it. In the end, Fang Hun's heart softened and he chased Fang Xiaoyun out. But before that, Fang Hun cured Fang Hun's short leg. As for the severed arm, Fang Hun ignored it. Madame Han was also thrown into a mass grave by the City Lord's residence people. For this kind of person, even though they were husband and wife, but, in the end, she still betrayed him. So, Fang Hun couldn't tolerate it. As for Fang Xiaoyun, Fang Hun chased him out. Although he didn't kill him, he left him to fend for himself. An ordinary person without cultivation, could only rely on himself to survive in this world. Regarding this, Fang Hun had a clear conscience. After all, he had raised him for so long for nothing. Not killing him was already enough to offset the time he called him father. Sigh. I don't care anymore. Everything will be resolved. Let him deal with the rest. Whether or not he can survive will depend on his own luck. After saying that, Fang Hun let out a long sigh. Then, his body and mind became empty, and he threw all those troublesome matters to the back of his mind. Of course, at this time, Fang Hun finally had time to check the pill Lin Rei gave him before he left. With a thought, he took out the pills that Linley had given him from his interspatial ring. The pill bottle was transparent, and there were some floral patterns engraved on it. It was a very comfortable design, and after grabbing it, a refreshing energy flowed into his body from his palm. TSK, the fruit platter is not ordinary. A pill bottle is so extravagant. As for the pill bottle, Fang Hun didn't know what it was made of, but he was sure that the pill bottle had the effect of removing inner demons. As such, the value of the pill bottle was extremely high. Such a valuable item was used to store a pill. At this moment, Fang Hun felt that this pill was even more valuable. Pop! He opened the pill bottle. In an instant, a pill fragrance that made his heart tremble and excited spread through the room. Hiss, this pill. Smelling the pill fragrance and feeling the abnormality in his body, his originally closed eyes suddenly opened. His gaze was filled with a burning light. This thing can increase cultivation. What pill is this? At this time, Fang Hun clearly felt that his cultivation was increasing bit by bit. Although the speed was very slow, it was enough to make him shocked and excited. Let's do it. Looking at the pill and thinking about the temptation of breaking through, Fang Hun couldn't care less. He thought that there was something wrong with the pill, but, in the face of the temptation of breaking through, gulp. He didn't care about anything else and ate it first. The pill melted in his mouth and went down his throat. Finally, it landed in his chest. Then, the medicinal effect spread in all directions. It was just a silver pill, but it had such a fragrance. The fragrance lingered in his mouth and teeth, making him forget to leave. Boom! Suddenly, the moment Fang Hun recalled the pill fragrance, a terrifying medicinal effect appeared in the pill that was originally filled with gentle medicinal effect. It rushed to his limbs and bones. The medicinal effect was so strong that Fang Hun was shocked. The medicinal effect was very strong and filled with tyrannical qi. If he didn't refine it in time, he was afraid that, in a light case, his cultivation would be crippled. In a heavy case, he would explode and die. Chapter 846. Come on. Let's see what level I can reach this time. Sensing the medicinal power in his body, Fang Hun's eyes flashed. He closed his eyes, activated his cultivation technique, and began to refine the pill. At this moment, Fang Hun was both excited and nervous. After all, if he could successfully refine the pill, then the level of his breakthrough would be limitless. Of course, it was also at this moment that Fang Hun's originally hesitant heart became resolute. His heart was no longer yours. He had agreed to Lin Rei's conditions, to submit to Lin Rei and become his subordinate. It wasn't just for the pill. It was also to help the Han clan. Also, it was because of his desire to reach the peak of the Tao. He wanted to become, like Lin Rei said, a true expert. He wanted to break through the shackles of the godly exalted level and enter the holy world, a place he didn't even dare to imagine. He wanted to become an expert. He wanted to become someone above others. He wanted to become the person he wanted to be. Huff, huff, huff. Fang Hun entered a deep state of cultivation. In the room, the four sides were sealed, but there was a gentle breeze blowing. Fang Hun's robe was like a balloon, puffing up. Above his head, 3,000 strands of hair fluttered in all directions even though there was no wind. However, at this moment, Linli could not stop what Fang Hun was doing. Of course, Linli had already finished eating. In the time it took to finish a meal, everyone finished eating very quickly. At this moment, in a restaurant far away, Lin Rei sat in place, looking around at everyone. His face was full of smiles, as if something good had happened. Alright, all of you should have a mission now. Be careful. Rumble. Hearing Lin Rei's words, everyone rose to their feet. The rumbling sound attracted the attention of everyone else in the restaurant. We will follow Master's, young Master's, orders. Be careful. Not bad. Seeing his disciples like this, Lin Rei's face was filled with gratification. These disciples had always been his pride. With disciples like this, what more could he ask for? It's settled then. You may leave. Go wherever you want to go. Remember, your mission is to challenge the sect. If you succeed in your challenge, if you have time, go to the caves, secret realms, and danger zones in the 9th province. You might be able to find something useful there. Yes, we will do as you say. At this moment, everyone was willing to recover. After all, they could increase their cultivation. How could they not be willing? All right, go ahead. As he spoke, he raised his hand and waved to the crowd. This time, the time limit is 500 years. Remember, no matter what, once the 500 years are up, all of you must return here. Do you understand? Yes, we understand. We will remember masters, young masters, orders. We will definitely return here in 500 years. After saying that, everyone bowed and saluted. Then, without saying anything else, they turned around and hurriedly left the restaurant with the people that Lin Rei had assigned to them. Swoosh, swoosh, when they arrived at the door, they jumped up into the sky. After finding the right direction, they scattered in all directions. They were as fast as lightning and as fast as thunder. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the horizon. It was empty. The people who had been surrounding the restaurant had all left. Of course, there were still a few people who had not moved. Lin Xianyuan, Gu Feng, and the doppelganger Sakura had not left. Sigh. Looking at the birds, beasts, and people leaving, Lin Rei could not help but sigh. Then, he retracted his gaze and looked at the 3 people. Sakura, you heard it. After 500 years, you must break through to the sage realm. Therefore, during this period of time, you should hurry up and increase your cultivation. I know. I have the same intention. At this moment, Sakura stood up and said to Lin Rei. Go ahead. As for your sword and the flute, after 500 years, I will refine it for you and make it a real sage weapon. Don't worry. I know. Sakura, who was cold by nature, nodded his head coldly. Then, he did not say anything. He grabbed the wine gourd on the table and rushed out of the restaurant. He soared into the sky and disappeared. Phew, he let out a long breath and a smile appeared on his face. All right, let's all have a rest. Previously, we promised Fang Hun that we would wait for 3 days. Therefore, we must not say a single word. Let's wait for him for 3 days. If he does not come after 3 days, we will set off for the Talisman Sect. Yes. Lin Xianyuan and Gu Feng nodded their heads and replied. Although they did not know what Lin Rei was going to do next, they knew that they could not disobey Lin Rei's orders. That was the right thing to do. Let's go. Let's go back to our rooms and rest. After saying that, he did not say anything else. He stood up and went to his room using the room number that Ming Ming had given him. He pushed open the door and entered his room. TSK, not bad. I did not expect that there would be such an elegant room in this restaurant. When he entered the room, he saw that the room was built with the rare sea-sinking wood. If the other rooms were the same, it was enough to tell that the owner of the restaurant was not an ordinary person. Although the sea-sinking wood was not very expensive, it would take a lot of effort to obtain it. Interesting. He glanced at the surroundings and withdrew his gaze. He walked to the bed and sat down cross-legged. Then, he closed his eyes and entered into a state of selflessness. He circulated the chaotic heavenly scripture and entered into a state of cultivation. Time passed by slowly. Just like that, 3 days passed in the blink of an eye as he cultivated in a peaceful and quiet manner. Boom, inside the city lord's mansion, the people who were originally carrying out their duties suddenly felt a terrifying pressure that surrounded the entire city lord's mansion. Under this sudden pressure, the people who were originally carrying out their duties directly knelt on the ground without any hindrance, without the slightest hesitation. Everyone's face was filled with shock and disbelief because the aura came from the depths of the city lord's mansion, where their city lord was. Could it be? Could it be that the city lord has made a breakthrough? At this moment, an old O sensed the aura and his body trembled uncontrollably. His face was filled with excitement. The city lord's breakthrough did not only represent him, but also the rise of the city's level. Currently, Vast Origin City was only a second-grade city. The city lord of a second-grade city was usually under the control of a divine emperor. There were not many cities under the control of a divine emperor. There were only 60 of them in the entire 9 prefectures. These 60 cities under the control of divine emperors were first-grade cities. They were very powerful and had over 10 times more resources than second-grade cities. This is great. The city lord's breakthrough means that Vast Origin City is one step closer to becoming a first-grade city. In that case. Thinking of this, the old O could not help but start praying. Of course, the content of his prayer was obvious. It was about Fang Hun's breakthrough. At that moment, in the depths of the city lord's mansion, Fang Hun sat cross-legged on a praying mat in Fang Hun's place of isolation. He had already exited from his training, and his face was filled with excitement. His body trembled in excitement. Ha ha ha! Suddenly, Fang Hun raised his head and roared towards the sky. It was as if he had completely relaxed. His face was filled with an excited smile. I've broken through, I've broken through. Who would have thought that just a small medicinal pill would allow me to forcibly increase my cultivation by 2 minor levels from the middle stage divine monarch realm? In just 3 days, I've successfully broken through to the early stage God Emperor realm. This, right now, although Fang Hun was excited, he knew that all of this had been bestowed upon him by Linley. If it hadn't been for Linley, breaking through to the Emperor God level would have taken him thousands of years, if not tens of thousands of years. I must repay the kindness of others. Since you've allowed me to break through, then, this Emperor shall serve you and serve you. After saying that, Fang Hun revealed a look of anticipation. He was looking forward to what level he would reach in the future. After letting out a long breath, a smile appeared on Fang Hun's face. Looking at the gradually brightening sky outside, a trace of determination appeared on his face. It's time to find Lin Rei. After saying that, Fang Hun retracted the pressure he released. He stood up, tidied up his clothes, pushed open the door and walked out. Since he was a guest from afar, he had to stay in Lin Rei's room. At this moment, Lin Rei had already woken up and stopped cultivating. It's been 3 days. In 3 days, will you fulfill my wish and come find me? Looking out the window, Lin Rei revealed a look of anticipation. Of course, he was also looking forward to it. Even if Fang Hun didn't come, Lin Rei wouldn't be too disappointed. After all, everyone had their own aspirations. Nothing could be forced. It's time to leave. Fang Hun stood up and moved his body that had been resting for 3 days. Suddenly, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Instantly, the entire room was filled with a bone-chilling sound. With a twig sound, the door was pushed open by Lin Rei. Suddenly, a bright and beautiful ray of sunlight shone on Lin Rei's face. His originally melancholic heart felt much better after bathing in the sunlight. That's true. The sun is so beautiful. If I work from sunrise to sunset in a lazy manner, how comfortable would that be? Thinking about that, he couldn't help but shake his head with a bitter smile. Can't I just relax? It's only been a few days, and I'm already thinking about it. After saying that, he smiled bitterly and walked towards the restaurant in the front hall. Xiao Sanzi, Gu Feng, come out of seclusion. Come out and eat something. We'll prepare to leave. Yes, I understand. At this moment, Lin Xianyuan and Gu Feng, who were in their own rooms, heard the message. They immediately withdrew their cultivation and nodded. Arriving at the front hall, the restaurant was still the same as usual. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Fang Han scanned the place and locked onto an empty seat by the window. His speed wasn't very fast. When he arrived at the seat and sat down, his gaze landed on the pedestrians on the street outside the window. Looking at the hurried pedestrians passing by, Lin Rei couldn't help but become absent-minded. Lin Rei, who was in a daze, didn't notice at all that there was a delicately dressed man with a jade crown on his head. His skin was as white as snow, and his appearance belonged to the feminine type. He was especially feminine. Moreover, his body emitted waves of fragrance, just like a girl's. He held a folding fan in his hand and wore a white robe. Overall, there were only 3 words: gigolo. At this moment, the gigolo came to Lin Rei's seat. Seeing that Lin Rei was facing outside, he was absent-minded. He stretched out his hand and knocked on the table. "Brother, I wonder if you can sit here?" Lin Rei, who was originally in a daze, suddenly woke up after hearing this voice. He immediately turned his head. The moment he saw the gigolo, Lin Rei's face revealed a trace of doubt. Do you have something to say?" Hearing Lin Rei's words, the gigolo was speechless. He then said, "Brother, I don't know if you can sit here. The other seats are all full. Can you share a table?" "Of course, if brother agrees, this one can pay the bill for you." "Share a table?" Seeing the gigolo saying so, Lin Rei revealed a trace of interest. Lin Rei was clear about the cultivation of this young man. A late-stage God-Emperor cultivator was actually so amiable. Furthermore, he even requested to share a table. If it was someone else, he would have been chased out by now. But now, this young man didn't do so. Even though he didn't want to sit with others, Lin Rei felt a trace of interest towards him. His expression relaxed and he revealed a smile. He nodded and replied, "Sure, you can sit. But I still have 2 friends, so in a while, it's fine. It's fine as long as there is a seat." Hearing Lin Rei's words, the young man paused for a moment before regaining his senses. "This one is Su Ziqing. I am a roaming official. I hope you don't mind my rudeness." Suddenly, Su Ziqing cupped his fists. Su Ziqing. Hearing this name, Lin Rei felt slightly puzzled. He had never heard of this name before. But this person was a late-stage God-Emperor. Even though he didn't think much of him, there was no need for him to offend him. After all, as the old saying went, one more friend means one more path. Thinking of this, he cupped his fists and replied, "This one is Lin Rei. I am a roaming wanderer." "Oh. Lin Rei, TSK, this name is not bad." Hearing Lin Rei's name, the person called Su Ziqing praised with a smile. Lin Rei wasn't interested in him. He was only interested in him. Hence, he didn't say much and just smiled. "Teacher, young master." However, during the silence, Lin Xianyuan and Gu Feng, who were awakened, suddenly came over. They cupped their fists and greeted Lin Rei respectfully. "Oh. You are here. Hurry up and sit." The 2 of them sat down. But when they saw Su Ziqing, they frowned and revealed a puzzled look. This is Su Ziqing. He is a roaming official. Don't worry, there is no space here. Hence, he came over to share a table. At this moment, Lin Rei understood the doubts of the 2 and hurriedly introduced. After saying that, he pointed to Lin Xianyuan and introduced him to Su Ziqing. "This is my disciple, Lin Xianyuan. This is Gu Feng. He is, my subordinate. Greetings to the 2 of you. Judging from your aura, you should be cultivators. And your cultivation isn't low. TSK, you are really young and promising. At this moment, Su Ziqing spoke. However, when he heard Lin Rei's introduction, Su Ziqing looked at Lin Rei curiously. After the two of them arrived, although he couldn't really sense their cultivation, he was sure of one thing. Lin Xianyuan was definitely stronger than him. There was no other reason. Before he arrived, there was a trace of strong cultivation circulating in his body. Although it was only for an instant, Su Ziqing could clearly feel it. Chapter 847. Lin Xianyuan and Lin Xianyuan didn't respond to Su Ziqing's words. After all, they were very clear about Su Ziqing's cultivation. A late-stage god emperor. A young man like him could reach such a level. It was obvious that he had a powerful background. Of course, the most important thing was that Lin Rei had spoken. They didn't dare to say anything. For a moment, the four of them didn't say anything. The place was quiet. There was a slight awkwardness in the silence. Little 3, go order something to eat. Once we're done, we can leave this place. At this moment, Lin Li opened his mouth and broke the silence. Yes, master. Lin Xianyuan suddenly stood up and walked towards the front desk. Looking at him, Lin Li revealed a trace of a smile. Not long after, Lin Xianyuan returned with a jug of wine in his hands. He placed it in front of Lin Li and said with a smile, Master, this is the private stash of the restaurant's owner. I heard that it's a rare wine. Have a taste. If it tastes good, I'll go get more for you. Oh. Lin Rei's eyes lit up. He focused on the jar of wine. Wine was very important to him. Yes, I heard it's made from clear spirit fruit and 100-berry fruit. Seeing the smile on his master's face, Lin Xianyuan hurriedly poured a bowl for Lin Li and stood beside him, intending to serve him. Let me do it. Suddenly, Gu Feng stood up and took the jar of wine from Lin Rei's hand. He didn't say anything. He stood behind Lin Rei and waited for a refill. Lin Xianyuan was stunned by Gu Feng's behavior. However, he recovered quickly and sat down. He didn't say anything and waited quietly for the dishes to be served. Gulp, gulp. Suddenly, there was a sound of drinking. Lin Xianyuan and Su Ziqing looked in the direction of the sound. At this moment, Lin Li raised his head and downed the entire bowl in one gulp. He then placed the bowl back onto the table. As for Lin Li, he stood there in a daze. His eyes were tightly shut and his breathing was normal. However, he had a look of enjoyment on his face. Seeing Lin Rei like that, Lin Xianyuan knew that his master liked this wine very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't be like that. Moreover, he had tasted it before he came. Otherwise, he wouldn't have served it. Yes, it's fruity. It's refreshing, sweet, and gentle. After drinking it, the taste of fruit lingers in the mouth. It's rare that this wine can be brewed to such an extent. TSK, the owner of this restaurant is not simple. To be able to make such a good wine with just clear spirit fruit and 100-berry fruit. After pausing for a while, Lin Li began to evaluate himself. His face was filled with bliss, as though he deeply loved this wine. Master, I'll go and buy some more. After all, I don't come here often. Lin Xianyuan hurriedly said when he heard his master's evaluation. Tisk, go and ask the owner. I want to stay here for a long time. Discuss with him. In the future, we'll buy the ingredients and we'll pay for all the brewing costs. We'll also pay for the brewing costs. Yes. Lin Xianyuan smiled when he heard his master's words. Then, he stood up and left. At that moment, the originally empty bowl was filled with Gu Feng. Gu Feng was very pleased with this. Gulp, gulp, at this moment, Lin Li couldn't stop. Although this wine wasn't the best, the aroma of this wine was something he liked very much. Have you heard? I heard that the Talisman Sect will be recruiting disciples soon. Hurry up and get the two of you to sign up. What? The Talisman Sect is recruiting disciples? When did this happen? Why haven't I heard about it? Tisk, how can I let you know about everything? Let me tell you. The news about the Talisman Sect recruiting disciples is from my brother's eldest cousin's son's friend. He's in the Talisman Sect, so this news is very accurate. Moreover, I heard that it's a big event this time. It's the first time in history. Damn, is that true? If that's the case, I must bring my son to the Talisman Sect. If he can really enter the Talisman Sect, then his future will be limitless. Just as Lin Li was tasting the fine wine, the topic of conversation reached Lin Li's ears. Instantly, Lin Li, who had been drinking, stopped, and a look of interest appeared on his face. The Talisman Sect is recruiting new disciples? Lin Rei was very interested in the Talisman Sect's recruitment. After all, his mission target was the Talisman Sect. Initially, he was worried about how to complete his mission. However, Lin Rei felt that the time had come. Oh? Brother Lin, could it be that you want to go to the Talisman Sect? At this moment, Su Ziqing asked curiously. He had never been able to see through Lin Li's cultivation level, but at least he knew that Lin Xianyuan and Lin Xianyuan were definitely not simple. However, Su Ziqing was extremely puzzled when he heard that the Talisman Sect was recruiting new disciples. He did not understand Lin Rei's intentions. That's right. Lin Rei naturally could not tell the truth to Su Ziqing's question. The Talisman Sect. Originally, I wanted to leave and continue to travel and chat about life. However, I did not expect that the Talisman Sect would be recruiting new disciples. Therefore, I want to give it a try. Hearing Lin Li's words, Gu Feng, who was standing behind him, was startled. A stunned expression appeared on his face. Others might not know about Lin Rei, but he knew very well that Lin Rei's cultivation was unfathomable. Not to mention the 9th province, there was probably no one in the entire divine realm who could defeat Lin Rei. However, Lin Rei said that he wanted to take part in the Talisman Sect's recruitment test. How could he not be stunned? Of course, this shock only lasted for an instant. Apart from Lin Rei, no one else noticed it. Oh? Brother Lin wants to take part in the Talisman Sect's recruitment test. Gu Feng looked at Lin Rei in disbelief. That's right. Lin Rei nodded without denying it. After all disciples from poor families hope to have the protection of a powerful sect with low cultivation. I am no exception. In order to convince Su Ziqing, Lin Rei suppressed his cultivation to the true God realm. Given Lin Rei's cultivation, Chu Fei must be a sage who was much stronger than him. Otherwise, no one would be able to discover his true cultivation. Of course, there was another reason. Lin Rei wanted Chu Fei to know. Otherwise, true God. As expected, when Su Ziqing sensed the ripples emanating from Lin Li's body, he immediately understood Lin Li's cultivation level. However, what surprised Su Ziqing was that a deity actually had such powerful subordinates by his side. Although he didn't know what Lin Xuanyuan's cultivation level was, he knew very well that he was no match for him. Su Ziqing did not believe that Lin Rei did not have any extraordinary abilities since he was able to make a cultivator who was much stronger than him willingly become his disciple. It was also because of this that Su Ziqing became more and more curious about Lin Rei. So much so that he made a huge decision in his heart. As he thought about this, a kind smile appeared on his face. He looked at Lin Rei and said, "Since Brother Lin has decided, why don't you travel with me? It just so happens that I also have plans to go to the Talisman Sect. I wonder if... What? You? Lin Rei raised his eyebrows as he looked at Su Ziqing. He looked at him cautiously. Lin Rei did not have a good impression of Su Ziqing. However, if this person wanted to go to the Talisman Sect with him, the outcome would be different. Why? Brother Lin is not willing? When he saw Lin Rei's cautious expression and saw Lin Rei's expression, Su Ziqing's body trembled. An unknown panic instantly filled his entire body. What's going on? Why do I have such a feeling? Su Ziqing could not help but mumble to himself as he avoided Lin Rei's gaze. Nothing. I am just afraid of delaying young Master Su's matters. Of course, if young Master Su does not mind, then, alright, it's decided then. Hurry up and eat. We will leave soon, Before Lin Rei could finish speaking, Su Ziqing spoke first and decided for Lin Rei. Lin Rei was stunned by this and smiled bitterly. Just like this, they seemed to have more to talk about now that they had a common goal. Su Ziqing seemed to have turned into a chatterbox as he continued to nag Lin Rei. In order to not expose himself, Lin Rei could only listen with a smile on his face. At this moment, Lin Rei really wished that he could unleash his cultivation and give this person a big slap. He wanted to say to him, "Stop talking and stay here. If you continue talking, I will kill you." Of course, this was only a thought in his heart. His face was still full of smiles and he appeared as easygoing as a spring breeze. Seeing this, Gu Feng, who was standing behind him, felt that it was funny. Lin Rei's current appearance was the most sullen and funny he had ever seen since he started following him. However, while Su Ziqing was chatting one-sidedly, Lin Rei returned and all the dishes he had ordered were served. In response, Lin Rei could only eat in silence and block Su Ziqing's words. Of course, he would still turn his head and respond from time to time. However, Lin Rei's current helplessness was the same as the helplessness of Liaoyuan City's city lord Fang Hun. He had sent people to search for Lin Rei for some time, but there was no news of him. He had thought of using his cultivation. However, there might be a few powerful cultivators in Liaoyuan City. If he did not want to live, he would definitely not use his divine sense to search. Ever since Fang Hun had made a breakthrough, he had sent out all the elites of the city lord mansion to search the entire Liaoyuan city for Lin Rei so that he could follow him. However, time passed for a long time. Slowly, the hope in Fang Hun's heart faded bit by bit. The flame of hope was slowly extinguished. It seems. Emperor still does not have such an opportunity. Reporting to City Lord. This subordinate has discovered the person you are looking for. He is currently eating as a guest. What? Hearing this report, Fang Hun, who had lost all hope, suddenly stood up. He circulated his cultivation and his body shot out like an arrow, disappearing in the blink of an eye. As for the guard who had made the report, Fang Hun didn't have the mind to pay attention to him. Right now, all he wanted to do was find Linley and have him tell him that he was willing to take Linley as his master and obey his orders. Nevertheless, on the way to where Lin Rei was praying in his heart. He prayed that Lin Rei would not leave and that he would not miss this opportunity. At this moment, Fang Hun used his full strength. An early-stage God-Emperor cultivator using his full strength could be felt by all the powerful cultivators in the city. Amen. At this moment, several people who had been in secluded meditation in the East District, West District, South District, North District, and Central District suddenly opened their eyes. A bright light flashed in their eyes, but it was gone in the blink of an eye. They looked toward Fang Hun, and their hearts trembled. This aura seems to belong to the city lord of vast origin city, Fang Hun. Thinking of this, they had a strange expression, that's not right. Previously when I saw him, he was still a middle-stage god monarch. How long has it been since then, hehe, Fang Hun? Who would have thought that he would break through to the god emperor realm in such a short period of time? Did he encounter a huge opportunity? Or Fang Hun, not bad. Who would have thought that he would break through to such a level in such a short period of time? At this moment, this thought appeared in the minds of several cultivators in the city. Nevertheless, they were merely startled. After all, everyone had their own opportunities and could not be forced. However, at this moment, Lin Rei, who was eating among the guests, stopped eating the moment he felt this aura. He placed down the chopsticks in his hand and looked towards the distance. There was a faint smile on his face that gave others a mysterious feeling. Is he finally here? I thought that if he didn't come, he wouldn't have subdued him. How could Lin Rei not be familiar with this aura? After all, they had just separated not long ago. Go and tell Fang Hun to wait outside. Also, tell him to suppress his cultivation. I feel that this Su Ziqing is not simple. During this period of time, try not to expose your cultivation as much as possible. Yes, understood, young master. Hearing the voice transmission, Gu Feng's head nodded imperceptibly. Then, he quietly retreated and went to meet up with Fang Hun according to Lin Rei's instructions. Time flew by and the meal was finished in silence. Burp. A thunderous burp came from Lin Rei's mouth. With this burp, Lin Rei slumped into his chair, completely unaffected by the presence of an expert. His previous elegance and nobility had all disappeared at this moment. The only thing that could be seen was a person who had eaten his fill and was lying leisurely and comfortably on the chair. Young Master Lin, do you want to leave now or, Hearing Su Ziqing's question, Lin Rei raised his head lazily, opened his eyes, looked at Su Ziqing, nodded and said, let's go. It's time to leave. Having said that, he got up and walked out of the restaurant. Seeing Lin Rei's action, Su Ziqing immediately got up and followed closely behind. At this moment, outside the door, Gu Feng, Lin Rei, and Fang Hun, the city lord of vast origin city, were standing together. When they saw Lin Rei come out, they bowed and greeted, Master, young master. Good. If you hadn't come, I'm afraid that I would have really left. Having said that, he smiled at Fang Hun and said, remember what Gu Feng told you. You are now just a divine guard. As for your identity, you can decide for yourself. Yes, young master. This subordinate understands. Chapter 848. Amen. Su Ziqing nodded and did not say anything else. However, right at this moment, Su Ziqing walked out of the restaurant. When he saw the extra person beside Gu Feng and Lin Xianyuan, he was momentarily stunned. Isn't that the city lord of vast origin city, Fang Hun? Although he did not know Fang Hun very well, he had seen him before. After all, if he had not seen the city lord of this city before, then it would be too. However, what puzzled him was that Fang Hun was standing there like Gu Feng, bowing his head like a servant. Even so, Su Ziqing could still see that Fang Hun's expression was filled with respect. What's going on? Why would a divine sovereign be so respectful to Lin Rei, who is only a true god? Moreover, Gu Feng and Lin Xianyuan are also acting the same way. As he thought about this, Su Ziqing looked at Lin Rei with a complicated gaze. There were many mysteries surrounding Lin Rei that puzzled him and made him want to find out more about him. Brother Su, is there something on my face? Or? Seeing Su Ziqing's gaze, the corners of Lin Rei's mouth unconsciously curled as he spoke. No. Su Ziqing cried out in alarm. Then, he hurriedly shook his head and said, I'm truly sorry. I was lost in my thoughts just now. As he spoke, both sides of his originally white cheeks turned red. Seeing Su Ziqing's current appearance, Lin Rei was momentarily stunned as he stood there in a daze. F***ck, it can't be, right? Your daddy here actually has feelings for this man. At this moment, Lin Rei could not believe his eyes. There were countless beauties in the world. Lin Rei had seen many of them. Fairies and goddesses were innumerable. However, at this moment, it was for a man. As he thought about this, he quivered and shook his head violently. He began to circulate the chaotic heavenly scripture in an attempt to get rid of this feeling. Phew, he exhaled deeply and opened his eyes. Then, he shifted his gaze away from Su Ziqing's face. Brother Su, this humble one is not familiar with this place. Is there a way to reach the Talisman Grand Master? Young Master, at this moment, when Fang Han heard this, he instinctively stood up and was about to say something, but, just as he opened his mouth, a hand reached out from behind him and stopped him. Don't say anything about this. Young Master can't reveal his identity right now, so, everything can only be done with Young Master's permission, understand? Fang Han turned his head and looked at Gu Feng, who was holding him. For a moment, Fang Han was shocked. He hurriedly nodded his head, and his expression was filled with gratitude. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you, however, Gu Feng and Fang Han's actions had already entered Su Ziqing's eyes. Seeing how strange their actions were, Su Ziqing began to ponder. Then, he said, Brother Lin, this servant of yours seems to know. Why would he hesitate? With a sigh, the group flew all the way. Finally, after an hour, Lin Rei and the others arrived at the open space in front of the teleportation portals. City, however, the moment Lin Rei and the others landed in front of the teleportation portals, the guards guarding the teleportation portals subconsciously bowed when they saw Fang Han. Don't do what you have to do. Just pretend that I don't exist. Remember, do not expose my identity here. Do you understand? Fang Han, who knew that this would be the result, sent a voice transmission to all the guards guarding the mansion the moment he landed. We will obey your orders. They had no choice. The guards who had already bowed felt very awkward at this moment. However, in order to complete their mission, the guards who bowed raised their hands and made a stretching gesture. Then, they naturally returned to their original state. How pretentious. Su Ziqing, who knew what was going on, was speechless. However, she did not point it out. Instead, she looked at Lin Rei and the others with a blank expression. This is the expression of the few of us when we pass through the teleportation portals. Keep it well. At this moment, Fang Han recovered. He took out a space storage ring and handed it to the guard. This. Looking at the storage ring in front of him, the guard did not know whether to take it or not. At this moment, the guard had mixed feelings. He scratched his ears and cheeks and even had the thought of dying. However, he could not let the city lord wait for too long. Just as the guard was in a dilemma, he finally came up with an idea. When he came to his senses, he did not take it. Instead, he said to Fang Han, my friend, the city lord is in a good mood today. Therefore, all the cultivators who enter the teleportation portals at this hour are exempted. So, you'd better take back the storage ring. Fang Han was taken aback by the guard's words. Of course, not only Fang Han, but also Lin Rei, Gu Feng, Lin Xianyuan, and even Su Ziqing could not help but be taken aback. Strange expressions appeared on their faces. However, after thinking about it, they understood. After all, the person standing in front of him was his immediate superior. Open the teleportation portals and let them pass. At this moment, the guard's face lit up and he shouted behind him. Understood. At this moment, standing in front of a teleportation portal, the person who received the order nodded. Then, he took out a blue stone from his storage ring. After taking 5 steps forward, he mounted the stone in his hand into the groove that he had taken out a few years ago. Boom, swish, with a loud rumble, a blue beam of light instantly rushed out of vast origin city and toward a higher level. Hurry up and go in. Every time the portal is activated, the space stone will not last for a long time. At this moment, the person in charge looked at Lin Ray and the others and urged them. Let's go. Linley, who understood the reason behind this, nodded to the person holding the teleportation array. He took a step forward and appeared in the teleportation array. Lin Xianyuan and the others immediately followed closely behind Linley, not leaving him by even an inch. Swish, at this moment, the blue beam of light that seemed to pierce through the sky began to disappear the moment Lin Ray and the others stepped into the teleportation portal. It came and went quickly. The entire process took less than half a minute. When the blue light disappeared, Linley and the others, who had stepped into the array formation, disappeared along with the blue light. In the southern part of the 9th province, Mystic Essence Mountain, where the gods of the Talisman Grandmaster resided. At this moment, the originally quiet and desolate Mystic Essence Mountain was bustling with noise and excitement. On a mountain road, the flowers and trees on both sides were very novel. In particular, there were some rare flowers and herbs that could not be seen normally on both sides of the road. However, at this moment, the road at the foot of the mountain was crowded with people. Everyone's face was filled with anxiety as they walked up the mountain. They ignored the beautiful scenery on both sides of the road. The number of disciples recruited by the Talisman Grandmaster this time is the highest in previous years. I don't know why, but it's really strange. Tisk, isn't it good to recruit more disciples? This way, our children might even be able to enter this sacred cultivation ground. In this way, isn't it just around the corner to bring glory to our ancestors and revitalize our family? Yeah. The number of disciples recruited by the Talisman Grandmaster this time is really shocking. In the past, I only thought about it in my dreams. I didn't expect it to really happen now. Tisk, look at all of you. You don't even know if you can become a disciple of the Talisman Grandmaster, yet you're already dreaming? At this moment, a group of people were discussing. Their discussion was naturally very clear. The recruitment of disciples by the Talisman Grandmaster was a major event in the entire 9th province. After those who came from the south and those who came from the north received this news, all of them stopped what they were doing and rushed over with their children day and night. There are quite a lot of people. I didn't expect the Talisman Grandmaster to be so popular. At this moment, at the foot of the mountain, a young man in plain white clothes frowned slightly. He was speechless as he looked at the crowded mountain road. Yeah, the Talisman Grandmaster is one of the 7 sects after all. Moreover, the Tao of Talismans is indeed something that can't be seen. If one can refine the Tao of Talismans to the mastery level, I'm afraid that even top cultivators will suffer a setback. At this moment, a fair-faced pretty boy with a folding fan sighed when he heard the young man's words. Brother Su, since we've already arrived at the Talisman Grandmaster, should we? That's right, these 2 people were Lin Ray, Su Ziqing and the others who had rushed over from vast origin city. However, Gu Feng, Lin Xianyuan and Fang Hun did not follow them. When the group arrived at Mystic Origin Mountain, Lin Ray had asked them to find a place to cultivate in the surroundings. Brother Lin, are you trying to chase us away? Su Ziqing looked at Lin Ray with an aggrieved expression. Although it had only been a short dozen days since they had arrived here from vast origin city, and during these dozen days, they had been using the transportation formation and basically did not speak much. However, Su Ziqing was very certain that Lin Ray was not a simple person. His original plan was to follow Lin Rui and observe his plans. Now that they were here, how could Su Ziqing be separated from him? F***ck. Seeing Su Ziqing's shamelessness, Lin Rui was stunned and a helpless expression appeared on his face. Even Lin Rui could not do anything about this. He felt completely helpless when it came to Su Ziqing. Especially when Su Ziqing spoke in such a tone, Lin Rui could not resist at all, and his heart softened. Hey, brother, are you going or not? Even if you're not going, don't block the way, okay? It's extremely shameful to occupy a latrine but not take a shit, okay? Suddenly, while Lin Rui was at a loss for what to do, an extremely discordant voice sounded from beside him. Turning his head, he saw a young man standing on the spot and looking at them with a sloppy expression. You, what? Are you captivated by this brother's handsome appearance? How about it? Do you want an autograph? You should know that this brother will be a very powerful talisman master in the future. Hearing the young man's words, Lin Rui frowned. Originally, he felt helpless because of Su Ziqing, but now that this hothead had appeared, it gave Lin Rui a good opportunity to vent his anger. Looking at him, Lin Rui laughed and nodded. Okay, I also want to ask you something. As he spoke, he looked around and said awkwardly, look, there are too many people here. Why don't we go to the side? You're not going to give me a beating, are you? At this moment, the young man suddenly became serious. Lin Rui was stunned, and then Lin Rui was completely speechless. The young man's serious expression disappeared in the next moment. I'm just kidding. I'm a future talisman master. How could I be beaten by you? As he spoke, he hooked his arm around Lin Rui's shoulder and said with a big face, come, let's go to the side and let this brother give you an autograph. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.